across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, do you know what, Asher? We were going to make this a special show tonight about the unpopularity of Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
But in the prep work we were given, which we often don't bother reading, one of the things on this... One of the things on this piece of paper says that 1 in 3 British people think Keir Starmer is all right. Who are you?
It's a lie, isn't that? Can't be the correct answer. Who says this? Who's done this? Oh, Keir Starmer did the survey. Even he thinks he's too good.
Who could it be?
Yeah.
OK, look, I think we've got a video which is all about Keir Starmer. And I think what we should do is we should watch that video. And then we've got Charles Amos coming up, who's going to talk about the popularity or otherwise of Keir Starmer. And you can get involved as well. 0344 499 1000. I'd love to hear from you, personally. If you were somebody who really believed in the Labour project, perhaps you're an old Labour person, perhaps you're one of the former Labour MPs who's unemployed who watch and listen to our show, get in touch with us and maybe explain to us what it was that you thought was just so good about Keir Starmer. Did you ever have faith in him?
By his regret, anyone?
Or did you just vote for him because he wasn't Rishi Sunak? Anyway, I think we've got that video, haven't we? So let's go for that now.
Run veto.
An immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the hostages.
Have you lost control of your MPs, Prime Minister? Will you rule out...
Okay. Not lost a game under the Labour government in 2024.
Is football coming home, Prime Minister?
It looks like it.
Well, welcome. And it's good that we had a long conversation on the phone. When you want, give me your hand there, pal. And we're the best of allies, maybe in the whole world. And we really need to continue to cooperate. And a lot we can talk about.
A document. This is sorry about that. This is it.
A very important document. A letter. He sent his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much. A great, great gentleman.
That we do have, of course, a special relationship with our friends in the UK and also with some of our European allies, but we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and, by extension, American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time. Well, no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there. We risk becoming an island of strangers.
That man is not allowed in my pub. Get out of my pub. Go on. Get out of my pub.
A NATO country has just had to defend itself against Russian drones. Now, more than ever, we need our ambassador to Washington fully focused on this issue and liaising closely with America. Does the Prime Minister have full confidence in Peter Mandelson?
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship. She has now referred herself to the independent advisor. That is the right thing to do. But I can be clear, I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister who is building 1.5 million homes, who is bringing the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and who's come from a working class background to be Deputy Prime Minister of this country.
Is everything going good? Very good. It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic.
That was the best bit when he went up to speak and Trump sort of turned his back on him, wasn't it? But did you notice the way he said, I've always been a great... I've admired our history of free speech and we wouldn't dream of reaching across to America. He's basically saying we'll just control our own citizens' freedom of speech.
That's absolutely right.
He doesn't even know what he's saying.
I mean, it's just extraordinary, really. But I think we have... generally in this country a very poor standard of politician at the moment, and I've got to say, I'll tell you what I blame. I genuinely blame the Conservative Party and the Labour Party's vetting of parliamentary candidates, and I've said this before. Here's what used to happen. What would happen is, say, Rishi Sunak is a terrible Prime Minister and he's going into the election. What he needs is obviously 650 candidates for each of the districts across the country. Now, obviously, there are a number of them that already have sitting Conservative MPs, and then there are other places that need candidates. What they would do is surgically remove anyone of any interest whatsoever from that list, and that ensured that the people who would be no trouble. They wouldn't say anything out of turn, they wouldn't cause any trouble, they never had anything interesting
Well, they're
in
the
their
best
background.
politicians, aren't they?
Of course.
Yeah.
And what happens is that's fine for that election. But those are the people who are then the party leaders in 20 years' time. And if you keep doing that, so, you know, Hague did it, then Howard did it, then Cameron did it, then Theresa May did it. And because they've all done this...
It's like filters through and they get blander
years.
and blander and boring and more useless.
And
And we've ended up in this mess.
And then you get to the stage where the Labour Party is trying to select somebody more bland than Keir Starmer, and the Conservative Party are trying to select people more bland than Rishi Sunak, and the Liberal Democrats are trying to select people more bland than Sir Ed Davey. And actually, you're starting to run out of people who are that boring. And that's the problem.
Bland doesn't have to be boring, but in this case, they're boring and useless. And, of course, you wouldn't go into politics if you've got anything about you these days, you know. You'd go into business or other things because, of course, with the EU that's been in the last, you know, few decades, you're going to have no power, which is why these politicians like it, because they want to get back in, because it means they can just blame everything on the EU.
But at the next election, the Labour Party is going to try and find people who are less interesting than Keir Starmer.
Well,
I mean, that's
the thing.
going to be a real challenge.
Well, as MPs, but I mean, what about the leader? They're going to look for someone like, you know, is it going to be Miliband or No Brainer Rain? I mean, what are the options? And they're not really bland, but they're crazy and useless, and they'll be even worse, won't they?
Ed Miliband, as we've always said, is a religious fundamentalist. He's a pagan who believes in worshipping the earth.
He's a Looney Tune. I mean,
I bet he pours holy water onto trees and stuff like that, because he is.
Well, he walks around, doesn't he, with that little ukulele?
Does he?
Yeah, because you've seen that video of him when he can't play the ukulele. Have you not seen that?
No. I saw it when he tried to kiss his wife and she refused.
Well, I'm not surprised. Looked like him eating a bacon sandwich, a similar look, isn't it?
Mind you, let's be fair. He eats a bacon sandwich better than most Jewish people I've met.
Well, I think that was God punishing him, wasn't it? It's spreading out all over the place. Look, you can't eat a bacon sandwich or I will mock you across the nation.
I'm sure that must have been... There are some extremists out there who butter bacon sandwiches. Well,
of course,
filth.
It was Christo Fullfat's dad made the sandwich.
And he fattened Christo for the winter, didn't he?
Christo's dad owned a cafe down there at the where at Paddington. Or
By the way, every time we've ever talked about food, people have always got in touch. But I maintain, hang on a second, right, Mark, I'm just going to look at you. But buttered bacon sandwich is wrong, isn't it? What? You would say yes to that?
Butter with everything.
No!
Butter with everything.
No, it's fat on fat. It's disgusting. Oh, it's like if I fry bacon...
What about a chip barm cake? Chip butter.
I don't really like...
chips in buttery barm cake.
I think buttering a...
Yeah, but with chips in a barm cake.
I call it a roll, but anyway, then again...
I thought you lot called it barm cakes.
I think they do, actually.
That's where I got it from when I lived up there.
Chips in a barm...
It's amazing up north.
Everyone thinks cake.
If you're 6 foot in up north, they think you're a giant. They run away from you.
My mum used to call it a cob.
Yeah, in Birmingham they were called cobs. Yeah,
I get that because it's like a cobble of bacon, of
roll,
bread, isn't it?
Bread roll, isn't it? Bread roll.
Have you ever eaten a bacon sandwich?
No, not
what are we
not
doing
on purpose.
Here?
I had a bit of a bacon sausage in an accident, eating accident once.
Did you?
Yeah.
I've got a mate who's Muslim and his son Sadiq was sat there. He's about 7 years old and an advert for Richmond sausages came on the TV and he went, Dad, we eat them at school. Why can't we have them at home?
Oh.
And he just went, just don't tell your mother or your granny. Just don't.
I've eaten, you know, Stuart Pearce, the England Nottingham Forest defender. I accidentally ate his pork.
What?
Yeah, I was in this casino. It was some dude and it was like he went up to do a speech. So he's left his dinner there. I'm sitting at the table with him, and Tony Cotty's there, and I just started eating it, and then I went, this chicken's funny, isn't it? And he went, and Tony Cotty went, that's pork. And I went, oh my God. It was like, I thought it was weird, chewy chicken. So I was devastated, obviously, at the casino.
Yeah, okay, right. So I'll tell you what, we did ask you to call in about Keir Starmer. We've deliberately wasted about 2 or 3 minutes, and we've got our first caller. Cindy is in Michigan. Cindy, you're on talk.
That wasn't a waste.
Hey, yeah, I'd love to give you my thoughts on Keir Starmer.
Okay, go for it.
You know, what he needs to do right now is very important. He needs to offer his full backing on this war in Iran.
Why?
Why? Because we need that support. We need to show a very strong alliance right now to show Iran that we're not backing down. Right now, Israel is the only country that's helping us.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The US. I mean, we're the mad ones, not the. We need your help more than you need our help, which is the crazy thing about it. You know, Europe are useless. You're the only one that can help us out in times of.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as the Second World War, well, I suppose the First World War as well, but as the Second World War began, there was a large move in the United States of America to say this is Europe's problem, just leave it to them. What is the point of American young men, and that would be young men and young women, dying to liberate France? And I get that, and in the end that argument did not win out because of Pearl Harbor. But today, there must be people saying exactly the same thing. Why bother with NATO when there is no obvious benefit to the United States of America?
And also, right now, see, if I were Iran, I'd be laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Look, the world doesn't even want to help them.
Yeah.
How does that look?
Well, it looks weak, doesn't it? And they're looking weak. And if Trump doesn't follow through in the military sense,
I just love that phrase, Trump following through. I mean, that has an entirely different meaning.
Do you know, at Pearl Harbor, America, it was actually after Pearl Harbor, Germany declared war on America, so America never actually declared war.
Although it is worth pointing out
that a lot of people know that.
It is worth pointing out that the United States of America, despite having been attacked by the Japanese, did put most of their forces into liberating Europe. But Cindy, what happens if nobody helps and the Straits of Hormuz remains closed, effectively closed? Will there be pressure to pull out of NATO?
I think Trump's going to want to pull out of NATO. I think right now he's seriously considering it.
Yeah.
Because he's already talking about taking troops out of Europe. Did you know that?
Yes. Well, I mean, always remember.
Isn't that bluster, though? Because he wants to keep his troops all over. He's got bases all over the world, and they want to keep their war in, don't they? But
the thing is, what you could do is you could scale back Europe's military defence while simultaneously maintaining things like Ramstein Air Base, which is the largest air base outside of the United States of America. The reason is because every European country that has American soldiers would rather have 500 than zero.
Yeah.
So you could go down from
the useful bits of kit.
Yeah.
Right now, Vance is on his way to Iran. Did you know that? For talk.
I didn't know that.
He's already on a
tell
plane.
Everyone.
He's already on a plane on his way for talks. But Iran is already starting to play games with the situation.
They're not going to back down, Cindy. It's a religious thing. It's not like you can negotiate with someone who's following a religious law. It's either win or die trying and go to heaven. So you can't reason with these people. And apparently now we have an even more hardcore Ayatollah in Iran. So, they've got to, you've cracked the eggs. You've got to make the omelette.
Just to be clear, you're not...
You were right.
You're not quite right, Cindy. Let's just correct this. He's on his way to Pakistan for talks with Iran. He's not literally going to Iran.
Yes. Pakistan, I'm sorry. Correction. Yes, thank you.
No problem. Okay, let's go to Roy in Hampshire. I'm sure Cindy will phone back for the actual phone-in later.
Yeah, call later, yeah.
But Roy is in Hampshire. Roy, you're on talk.
Second bite of the cherry.
Yeah, about Starmer, mate. I don't think the guy's a patriot. He just doesn't. For some reason, he hates this country.
Well, he's already said that. When they said Davos or Westminster, he went, "Oh, definitely Davos." He's definitely. It doesn't. He's for the world or the one world order as opposed to a patriot.
Well, you have a look what he's done to the squaddies. You know, I'm an old soldier. The squaddies that fought in Northern Ireland. Yeah. He sold them to the wall.
He did.
Everything he's done since he's been in power. He's done this country down. I think he is a traitor. I think he's an out-and-out communist, and he just hates his country and everything about it.
Would you ban the Fabian Society? Because the Fabian Society believe in bringing in communism by taking over institutions and pretending to be reasonable.
But is it him or Blair that is president of the Fabian Society?
They're all in it.
They're all members.
Yeah.
And the coat of arms used to be a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Now it's just a wolf. It's open. Everyone can see it's just a wolf now.
Andre, you've worked in Parliament. Aren't these people vetted by the Secret Service before they become Prime Minister?
But there are difficult questions, aren't there? I mean, I've talked on many occasions about when Sadiq Khan was bugged by MI5 when he went to meet Al-Qaeda's chief fundraiser online, Babar Ahmed. And it was made clear to me through back channels that MI5 had significant concerns about why Sadiq Khan was such good friends with the head of Al-Qaeda's fundraising. Now, question mark, what was ever done about that? I think Sadiq Khan, by the way, has accepted a seat in the House of Lords because he knows that if he attempts to become Prime Minister, there would be severe problems because of his background. I think being friends with Al-Qaeda's chief fundraiser is a problem, whether you were involved with Al-Qaeda or not. I think people are vetted to an extent. But not. I mean, to work in the House of Commons, you don't need the full sort of vetting that you would need to be a civil servant. They just check whether you're a convicted criminal or whether you're on the terror watch list. That's pretty much it.
They used to let those in.
Yeah.
They did.
Do you know who Starmer reminds me of?
Go on.
Lord Haw-Haw.
Well, he doesn't remind me of him, but I understand why you're saying that.
No, he used to come on the radio, Germany calling,
yeah.
People of Coventry.
He sounds a bit like him, yeah. The voice sounds like him.
I think the thing is with Keir Starmer, and
he's a traitor like him.
I've always said that in Britain, because of the invasion of the Normans, we genuinely believe that everything that is French is culturally superior to Britain, and I think these people see British people as, common, down market, unintelligent, brutish. I mean, when you think about people talking about going on holiday, if you say you like going to Benidorm, by the way, I had a lovely time in Benidorm. I went with a very famous right-wing leader who we never mention on this channel.
How common?
You've all guessed who that is. But anyway, just don't say the name. But I went with a right-wing leader to Benidorm, and we had a great time, absolutely great time. And but of course, people like Keir Starmer would look down on that.
He says he's working class, but his dad owned the tool factory.
He'd be thinking of going to the Loire Valley or something like that. That's the way they see it. I've always said Mrs. Bucket named herself Bouquet because anything that sounds French is considered more posh, and I think that's the background. That's why they love the EU, and that's why they hate the British.
Can I just say one thing more to you?
Yeah.
Oh, very well then.
The big man was in the chair. He had got a hairdresser to come one night, and he gave Ash a nice haircut.
Yeah, Timmy. Yeah, Timmy. Yeah, a couple of had a couple of haircuts. Yeah.
Yeah,
so Timmy,
he did.
Yeah, he did a good job actually.
Yeah.
Hey?
Little Irish girl that used to come to see you.
Which one was that?
The little Irish girl. He's not Frank Boff.
Which little Irish girl?
Nice little Irish girl used to come. She was keen on you.
Which one was that? What you mean on the phones or what?
No, she used to sit with you and James.
No recollection. I'll have a think though about the
little Irish woman who used to sit with James.
Yeah. A woman, I'm sure.
Mark has remembered. Mark, whisper in our ears.
The blonde one with the glasses.
Yeah, I think she used to wear glasses. Yeah. Very
Do
attractive.
you mean Sugar Lips?
Oh, I remember the dating girl. The Irish dating woman.
All right.
That's it. That's it.
She used to talk about dating. I can't remember anything else.
Beryl, you mean Beryl? Anyway, look, we'll work out. On that bombshell, we're going to come back from the break, and we're going to talk. Who we're talking to our mate again, aren't we, George?
Stephen K. Amos.
Charles Amos. Yeah, Charles Amos looks like George Roper from George and Mildred, but he's got a lot of interesting views. But when you listen to him, it actually makes sense. It's Talk with Andre and Ash 0344 499 1000. Back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, we're joined by Charles Amos, who is an alternative thinker. He's quite staunchly libertarian. And, you know, we were just talking in the break about vaping. And I actually, funnily enough, I had a terrible reaction to vaping. Do you know that they call it the popcorn effect? Where sort of
Popcorn lung.
Anyway,
it's a myth.
Anyway, I virtually threw up. I couldn't breathe or whatever. Anyway. But I have to say to you, I think if you want to vape, and it's not a big deal, it doesn't bother me. But Keir Starmer wants to ban vaping in the workplace. And you, Charles, asked this question. Do you think that Keir Starmer believes vaping's dangerous, or do you think that he just believes, well, let's just ban it for the hell of it? I think his instinct is to use legislation to prevent people doing things that he personally objects to. I think that's what he wants. So I don't think he cares whether vaping is dangerous or not. He says, I don't like vaping in the workplace, therefore it should be illegal. I think that's his view.
I'm not too sure about that. I think it's more likely he only wants to do it because it's popular. Lots of people think vaping is a lot worse than smoking. So given smoking ban, the general public think vaping should be banned. And Keir Starmer's not going to challenge that, despite the fact Public Health England said it's 95% safer than regular smoking. So he's just going, well, we'll just do what
Doesn't he
public
think
wants
they're subversives? People who vape, they're subversives, so, you know, they can't be controlled as easy. You remember he tried to ban smoking in the gardens of pubs and banter and all that? It's just another form of controlling, and people who vape... I used to think smokers are actually better people, and vapers are probably, you know, they have more about them.
I don't
it's
think
just a fact.
I don't think you can connect vaping with maybe.
I don't know enough about Keir Starmer to say whether or not he's totally against freedom in the social realm. He's definitely against freedom in the economic realm, but I don't know whether or not he's totally against it in the personal realm.
We believe, and we may well be wrong because it is purely based on our observations of him. I've never met Keir Starmer, but when we saw the smoking outside in pub gardens, when we saw the banter ban, when we saw the damage that was being done to pubs, all of these things that took place, our view was that he wanted to smash the infrastructure of the working class, who he sees as the enemy.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's doing it simply because it's popular, and I wouldn't be surprised if among working class voters it was also popular banning vaping in public places.
What do you mean? They love it, the working class. I mean, did you see the latest psyops operation being instigated at the BBC where they started talking about, you know how we all think dogs are great? Well, have you ever thought they're not as great as they are? And they try to slip that into the national psyche, starting to ban dogs.
Dogs are great.
Dogs are great.
Especially
People should be encouraged to get dogs. I love dogs, and they're good guard dogs. You know, you get a big.
But isn't that because some Muslims dislike dogs? And I mean, if you think about it, in Camden,
well, that's why they're promoting.
They were talking about dogs on the street being banned because it would be offensive to Islam.
Really?
Well, they've got to get around dogs.
I mean, the people talking about it could not cite how a power could be.
Dogs have got to get around.
That strikes me as ridiculous. Yeah. That strikes me as ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Charles, what can we do about raising standards in politics? Because, you know, I look at you and think you are somebody who is very much your own man. You say what you think, you dress the way you want to. People watching it are going to think that you have a style which is much more similar to the 1970s than perhaps our current era, largely because you shop in charity shops. But you've chosen to do that, and you're happy with your look, you're happy with your views, you're happy with what you're doing. How can we get more people who are not alternative in the blue hair sense, but people who are willing to be their own man to get into British politics?
I don't know the answer to that for sure, but I suspect you've got to make people be willing to sacrifice themselves or pursue an ideology at all costs, or you certainly need more of those types of individuals. The problem is that isn't very lucrative career-wise. I've applied to a number of jobs in politics, and I suspect my controversial views have stopped me from getting those jobs. I think and not many people are willing to go very far out and push the Overton window as far left or
like
far right as they want.
But see, we interviewed
because of career concerns. And I don't disparage them totally from being that.
We interviewed a woman to be a caseworker when I worked in politics, and she was enormously fat. I mean, just to the extent that we were thinking.
No, she was big boned.
Well, she was not big boned. She was big bones with meat and gravy, right? but anyway. You know, she did not look like the sort of person we would want.
You wouldn't want her coming at you down an alleyway, would you?
And when I'll tell you a story.
Like a Viking.
I'll tell you a story about it. Anyway, she acquired the nickname Chubbaroo, and she was absolutely brilliant. I say that now because she's lost all the weight. But Chubbaroo did tell me one story once. She said, as you know, I've always been big. Yes, we had noticed. And she said that what she had to do was she had to back into a cubicle in the toilet. And she said once she opened the door to the cubicle, she has to open it with her bum because she can't. So she said, I got into the cubicle, shut the door, pulled my knickers down and just said, excuse me. And Chubbaroo's big ass was going for this woman. A woman had forgot to lock the door and Chubbaroo came for her.
What, backwards?
Backwards.
Was it go beep?
No, I've got to be honest with you. Why did Chubbaroo tell that story? Why did she tell that story? Because you're talking...
They got a good sense of humour.
Yeah, that's right. She's got a bubbly person.
Yes, they got a bubbly sense of humour, yeah, that's right.
I think Jeeves said in PJ Woodhouse's, Jeeves and Worcester, that people love more than anything else to be talked about. Even if it's for a rather unpleasant reason, they seem to love fame. So perhaps that's...
Well, it's about being talked about. It's some...
Well, that's what Jeeves says.
Anyway, but the point I was going to make in a very roundabout way was I think that you don't conform to what people expect in politics. Now, whether that be the way you look, I suspect it's more your views, as you suggested. But fundamentally, the sort of supine, dull, I went to private school and will put up with anything sort of thing is really not, is quite different to what you are, I would suggest.
Perhaps the way to get better politicians is to have better voters. The problem with the voters is they want contradictory things.
Yes.
They want higher public spending and lower taxes.
Yes.
So politicians trying to get rid of a deficit, or at least sort of saying they're trying to get rid of a deficit, are going to be punished by the voters
as
a result of wishing to do the right thing.
The masses are assets.
Or at least that appears to be the case sometimes.
Well, it is. I mean, when you look at a lot of people get interviewed and they go, "Oh, who are you going to vote for in this pivotal election?" And goes, "Oh, I'm not going to bother with that." And that's a lot of the
But it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Because if you just spend an hour looking through the manifestos and we put that Labour time down at, say, £18, the national average or thereabouts, they're never going to get £18 worth of benefits back from the political system because their vote, especially if you're in a safe seat, is worth nothing. It's not going to change the election at all. So you've got the situation where voters have no incentive to be ill-informed, so they're ill-informed, so they don't make rational decisions at all. So politicians are responding to these irrational voters, and we're in this terrible situation where nobody has an incentive to do the right thing because it's never in their self-interest.
There are some very long-term. Well, it's very hard to get long-termism in politics. I remember somebody saying to me about Singapore and their national insurance scheme, where they literally set up a national insurance scheme that pays into a fund. The money is not paid out immediately. It's actually used for genuine insurance. And that had benefited Singapore hugely.
That has been the case in the UK in the past. If you look at the 1911 National Insurance Act, which was for unemployment benefit, when people paid into it, they built up an actual fund. And when they were unemployed,
when did that change?
That changed in the 1920s.
Right.
So very, very quickly. But they built up that fund, and there was an actual pot that they had, and they'd withdraw their unemployment benefit from that. And if they still had money left when they were 65 or 70, can't remember quite which, they could take back all of their money that they paid in. So
wow, that's a much better system.
That is a situation where you had some working class voters, but not all working class voters, where you did actually have a proper national insurance system where you had your own personal pot. But unfortunately, it didn't last the 1920s.
Because, of course, I heard the statistic that if you pay into national insurance now, your money will be in the scheme for around 4 weeks.
I believe that, yeah. There is no pot. It just goes from
it's just the time it takes
to pensioners.
Yeah.
Do you know, in 1918, all the working class people were enfranchised. Maybe that was the reason why in the 1920s the scheme went to pot.
It's been downhill ever since, hasn't it?
Because you had the very poorest voting, and perhaps they wanted the redistribution from the rich to
doesn't work like
that. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Top up their pension pot or something like that. Unemployment plot.
Asher said to me the other day, or said on the show the other day, something which I thought about, and I know it sounds really obvious, but it's true. The problem with this, one of the problems with this country is we've managed to persuade people that one person is rich because another person is poor, and that is just now a general view that if this person ceases to be rich, somebody else will cease to be poor.
And this is obviously a ridiculous view because you can see that GDP has gone up since 1900.
Yes.
If it's gone up since 1900, however many fold, that shows that each person can get richer and nobody be poor.
Yeah, the very poorest.
That other person
ignoring people who are, as a result, quite often of mental illness, ignoring people who are out on the streets. Everybody in this country has a better... No, actually, let's ignore that.
Well, even the people on the streets have a better standard of living. If the price of bread goes down because of greater productivity, it means that the begging that they get, it will go further.
Yeah, well, that's a reasonable point. I mean, it's...
something to look forward to.
I think if you look at everyone, I mean, if you look at... Yeah, I remember people saying that the working class children, looked relatively in good shape when they went off to be evacuated. But when foster parents put them in the bath and they saw the physical condition of them or whatever, kids in this country were in a really, really quite bad way. And public health and indeed nutrition and housing have all increased in quality. What worries me, Charles, about this country is that I have noticed, and look, it's anecdotal, I accept, but I feel that I've seen the country get poorer in the past 10 years.
Well, their kids are now poorer than their parents, and they're also dying earlier than their parents. Things have definitely gone backwards.
I do think we seem poorer.
GDP per capita has stayed pretty much the same since 2008.
Yeah. Yes.
So on that bombshell, let's take a little breaky. We're with Charles Amos, political commentator. We're having a go at Starmer. We're going to talk about Donald Trump. We've got a little clip of him mocking Starmer again, and all kinds of stuff like that. So we'll be back. It's talk 0344 499 1000. If you want to join the fray, if you're a bit scared, send us a voicemail message on WhatsApp on that very same number. Back after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, we've got a special show tonight in which we're talking about Keir Starmer and the state of this country. We've got Charles Amos with us, who we just love talking to because he's always got food for thought. So I'm delighted that you're with us, Charles. Look, we've done some research within this building about our audience, and we are told that our audience now are in, quite what I would say is a dangerous state of mind. And what I mean by that is that they now believe that benefits should not be cut because, well, if the migrants are going to get all this money, we should be entitled to get our share as well. And their attitude is that they're being hosed for taxation, therefore they might as well be able to get their piece of the pie. Now, I understand why somebody would think that, and I understand why you'd be angry with it, but of course that is a very dangerous attitude to hold, isn't it? And it's going to be very dangerous for our society.
I can understand not wanting to be ripped off by a foreigner, but if you don't want to be ripped off by a foreigner, why would you also want to be ripped off by a native?
I think the attitude is, and at
least they've paid into the system.
I think the attitude is we're always going to get ripped off by foreigners, so we might as well rip off the system as well. I think is what they're driving at.
Well, if they're poor people, then I can see the reasoning behind that. But if they're middle class or rich people, then you should be against the natives ripping you off, even if the foreigners are going to rip you off anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Surely it's better to have fewer people ripping you off.
Yeah.
Or do you think there's some sort of inherent value in the equality of the foreigners ripping you off alongside the natives ripping you off?
I think that is a function of if you've been now taught to accept that you are a client of a client state. Right, you are somebody now where your future and the state's future are just completely intertwined. Where you have where everybody is on the social, and it's just a case of how much on the social are you versus how much tax you're paying in.
Also, your ancestors have paid generations and generations, and we've all got sort of people in the family who don't really pull their weight, and so it's at least we've contributed to these people who aren't going to work.
On net, most people throughout British history, probably since 1700, have not contributed on net. Hence why we've always had a national debt. Right. We've always had a national debt, which shows that on average people have taken more out than they've paid in.
Yes. That must be true.
Do you know the figures for February came out? We borrowed 13 billion pounds, and we've had to spend 12 billion of it paying the interest of our national debt.
Yeah, I mean the national debt today is approaching £3 trillion.
Yeah.
The national deficit is £126 billion.
200 billion.
So do us a favour, Charles. Sorry, I hate the word billion and trillion. What is a trillion?
It's 1,000 billion.
It's 1,000 billion.
And for people
so it's 1,000 million. Yes?
Yes, that's right. So a billion is 1,000 million, and a trillion is 1,000 billion. Don't ask me about the figures after that.
Okay. So how many nines are we talking? Zeros are we talking? 1 0 0 0.
12 for a trillion.
For a billion, 9. Yeah, 12 for a trillion.
12 for a trillion.
12. So
you can't even put that in my calculator.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the total
and
population.
I can write Shell Oil upside down.
So
we're going to take the total 65 million, right? And we're going to find out.
How much we own,
how much each of us own. Right, okay. Apologies that this isn't brimming radio. Are we saying the 70 million?
Say 70 million.
All right, so that's 70.
So people don't call in and say, what about the
we pay more out in welfare than we take in an income tax as well.
Right, so I'm going to put 1, and then I'm going to put 12 zeros. 1, 2, 3,
when
4,
will it come
5,
collapsing
6,
down, Charles?
7, 8, 9, 10,
That's
11,
a very good question.
12.
I don't know the answer.
Oh, it won't let me do it. Okay.
Yeah, you got the old calculator.
Okay.
They don't want to tell you, that's
1, 2, 3.
Make you so angry.
Well, it's 3 trillion approximately.
Keir Starmer stops your calculators.
Rounding up.
Yeah. Right, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Head, it's quite simple, isn't it? Have you done it, Charles?
I haven't done it. I haven't got a calculator with me.
You see, this young generation, they can't do manual adding up like we can. Should we take a little break?
Multiplied by 1,000.
Look,
does 45 grand sound right?
Yes.
That's not bad, actually.
So for every man, woman and child in this country, I calculate they owe £43,000 in national debt alone, and that is rising by what, £2,000 each a month, something like that.
A lot. It's 126 billion across the whole country.
All right, well, we'll do that. We'll do that maths, and we'll do that during the break.
Let's do that. We're going to do that. I'll just get my pen and we'll work it, and we'll come right back and we'll have the answer. Now it's 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Currency, but I think that's probably the solution.
Silence!
Okay, we got Charles to say something after. Okay, Charles. So the answer is £43,000 per man, woman, and child in the country's national debt, and that national debt is increasing by £1,800. And you believe one of the only solutions is to abolish the UK pound and create a new currency.
Well, I think the most likely thing that politicians will do is not cut spending or raise taxes. It's to inflate the currency to reduce the real terms value of that national debt.
So what you would do is you would say you would introduce the UK dollar at, say, whatever.
No, you just print lots of money.
Oh, you print lots of money.
I'm not saying I would want to do this. I'm just saying politicians, I reckon, will print lots of money.
Because there has been talk of Donald Trump adopting Bitcoin as the currency of the United States of America.
I do not think he would do that.
And destroy the dollar. It would lose the national debt, wouldn't it?
He would not want to do that because Bitcoin is limited in its monetary supply, and it's only by expanding the monetary base that the United States is able to finance its absolutely massive budget deficits. So it would never want to adopt
massive
Bitcoin
energy costs
because
as well
they wouldn't. The real interest rate would have to go up, and it would be very expensive to finance their debt. At the moment, they can just finance it through inflation by printing lots of money. And
so when you're saying create a new currency, you don't mean literally going from the Deutschmark to the Reichsmark. You mean literally just printing shed loads.
Yeah, and this would be a disaster. And Steve Baker has a very good paper on this called "Are We in the Largest Bubble in History?" And he says that we are, and it will only get bigger if politicians, instead of tackling excessive welfare expenditure and particularly pension expenditure head on, will avoid doing that. They will avoid cutting spending or raising taxes, and they'll just print loads of money, make this massive bubble because they'll lower real interest rates, and at some point that bubble will have to burst, and that will result in total disaster.
And since we went off the gold standard, the pound has devalued by 99%.
A lot.
Yeah,
a lot. I mean, the pound used to buy you $4.86, and now it buys you what, $1.25 or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah,
and the euro,
we should have stayed on the gold standard, but I wouldn't have gone back to the gold standard
as
Churchill did, because he put it on a too high a rate.
But just to explain why you would want to go onto the gold standard, they are not. You cannot issue a pound unless you have the commensurate amount of gold, whatever amount of gold that is, in the vault of the Bank of England.
Absolutely, and that was the case since the Bank Charter Act of 1844, which Robert Peel passed, and it stayed pretty much all the way like that until 1914. Then there was a war, of course, and they thought, well, we need to print lots of money. We can't just borrow it entirely from the private sector. We're going to just print lots of money. So that's why they went off the gold standard. And commendably, Winston Churchill said, right, we've got to go back onto the gold standard. And crucially, he even wanted to honour the debtors in real terms. Not we're going to give you back these notes that we've nominally borrowed from you, but we're going to give you back all of your money in real terms.
Yes.
And
well, a very honourable man, but not when he came to his Savile Row tailors, but when he never paid his bills, did he? The posh aristos, they never paid their bills. Anyway, Charles Amos is with us, and we're going to talk about all more stuff like that. And we're going to have a little... In fact, can we go into a break? Let's have a... No, we're going to come back and stay tuned, because we're going to have a good laugh at Donald Trump mocking Keir Starmer after this.
But why
is there no break?
Because we've done it.
All right,
We've
all right.
done
Well,
it.
let's have the clip. I thought you said...
Right, Asher, stop. What have you been drinking today?
Well, that vodka that you brought in. Anyway, let's have a look at this clip. It's Donald Trump mocking Keir Starmer. Another one.
No, stop for a second. I wouldn't mind. You said, should we go for a break? And he shook his head.
No, I thought, because the clip, I thought,
no.
should we go to the clip? He went, no. It was all very confusing. But anyway, let's all settle ourselves and watch Donald Trump having another pop at our supposed Prime Minister.
He said, you have 2 old, broken-down aircraft carriers. You think you could send them over? Oh, I'll have to ask my team. I said, you're the Prime Minister. You don't have... No. I have to ask my team, President.
And now let's have a look at Keir Starmer saying he's fed up. Fed up.
I'm fed up with the fact that families across the country see their bills go up and down on energy, businesses' bills go up and down on energy because of the actions of Putin or Trump across the world.
Apart from we were paying 5 times the energy cost before any of this war happened.
Yeah.
What a load of
why can't he be upset with Ed Miliband, right? Yeah. Because we used to be... Do you know, in the 1980s, we were the world's 5th largest producer of oil and gas. The world's 5th.
Even their master, Tony Blair's telling them to put the tap on.
Unbelievable.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, just a matter of interest. You're an accountant by trade, but you're an economist, a bookkeeper, but you're
a bookmaker.
You've studied economics at least in partly. What happens if we bring in North Sea oil and go back to producing as much as we used to? I don't know if that's technically possible, but imagine it was. What would happen to our economy?
The global price of gas and oil would fall if you increase the supply.
Yes,
it's very simple. But it's not going to decrease that much for Britons as a result of reopening oil and gas.
What if they nationalised it?
And the important point to make, and you've made this, is the vast majority of energy costs in this country are due to taxes, subsidies for renewables, updating the national grids, renewables, backup infrastructure, and all these kind of things. If you got rid of all of those things, or a lot of them, you could significantly cut bills, even if drilling for oil and gas did not result in that large a reduction in prices.
OK, well, we've got some breaking news. The Times reports that the Chagos Island deal has been put on hold. I'll read this to you from the Times. Legislation which would see the UK hand over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius has been put on hold amid Donald Trump's criticism of the deal, according to reports. A bill which would be key to the agreement going ahead is not expected to be included in the government's forthcoming legislative plans, the Times has reported. The £35 billion deal, which, by the way, we pay them to take the islands off us. Why? The £35 billion deal, which includes a plan to lease back the UK-US military base on Diego Garcia, the largest island in the remote Indian archipelago, has been criticised by the US president. What a nightmare of a deal that really was.
Unbelievable. And, you know, they actually reached it with a missile to show, I mean, really how important it is. And what a disgrace we didn't let the states use it. I mean, they actually pay for this base as well, even though it is our base. I don't know how we refuse that. Utterly ridiculous. What do you think about what's going on with Iran and our stance on that? Well, Starmer's stance on it.
Well, I think the Iranians should stop blocking the Straits.
Yeah.
It's a right of way. They have no right to block it.
You heard it, Iran. Charles says stop it.
Yeah, stop it.
Charles says no.
They have
Maybe
no
they'll
right
listen to Charles.
to block that stretch.
Amos says no.
Imagine the next day.
I have no idea how you actually unblock it, though. I have no great understanding of international politics.
Do you worry? I mean, I was reading the other day about the issue with semiconductors in Taiwan, about the helium. The lack of helium as a result of the destruction of the Qatari LNG production, LNG refinery. Do you worry that our economics are too connected? Because it seems to me that in the past we were able. I mean, we had much less sophisticated consumer habits in the past, but we were able to accept some form of, blockade in the Middle East, and things still continue to function in a way. Now we're being told that computers cannot be manufactured in 18 months' time unless we find a new source of helium in Qatar. It's just crazy.
And the chip making
I
facilities
wouldn't
as well.
worry about any of this stuff. I think entrepreneurs, if they're called to surface in the event of an emergency, would deliver something.
Necessity. They're already making factories that can make these chips. I think Apple are doing it in the States. So.
And there's lots of countries in the world that you can import things from that are not Taiwan or East Asian countries
chips,
that
they're
are
the
possibly
only
under the influence of China.
I think it's Taiwan's the only chip maker that can actually do it in the world, which is why it's so valuable, and China have got their eye on it.
But if the price of these chips massively went up, entrepreneurs would go, right, let's shift a load of resources
I think
into making these factories.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what this reminds me of.
And we'll make a massive profit.
This reminds me of after 9/11, when there were massive calls in the Western world to be less reliant on Middle Eastern oil. Bush did something about it. And the United States is now a net exporter of oil and gas.
It's the biggest oil producer, bigger than Saudi Arabia in the world, and it's the biggest gas producer in the world, now bigger than Russia, all because of fracking.
Now, you've got ears, so we can take calls. OK, let's go to Robert in Hertfordshire. Robert, you're on talk.
Hi, you guys. This afternoon I was a little bit bored, so I've done a little bit of research and come up with some disturbing facts. In the British Navy, we have 143 admirals.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yep.
Now, the average wage for the admirals is between 165 and 185,000 pounds a year.
Yeah.
We've only got one broken battleship.
And they get nice pensions as well. Don't forget about that.
It's absolutely crazy. By the way, my dad was in the military, and he was saying that. He's absolutely delighted because when he was in Morecambe as a kid, or as a teenager, he discovered that if you did 1 night per week in the Territorial Army, they would pay you enough money to be able to drink every night in the naffy because it was so cheap. And he went off to Germany for 3 weekends, in which he pretended to be a Soviet soldier and had to fight against the Coldstream Guards. The Grenadier Guards. He said all they did was flashbang us and then kick the crap out of us. But after his 6 days fighting the Grenadier Guards in total, pretending to be a Russian, he's now entitled to a veteran's rail card that gets him a third off all travel. But it does. I mean, I will say one thing. If you serve 1 day in the TA, you're entitled to a third off rail for the rest of your life, which is not a bad deal overall.
No.
But Bob, Robert, I'll tell you what upsets me. The idea that we've taken our eyes so badly off the ball. We were talking, Charles, yesterday about Israel. And it seems to me that whatever you say about Israel, it feels like for a very long time they've spent a lot of time thinking about what their military should be, what capability they need, how they build that capability, how they can do it in a way that, and as I've always said, the IDF is critically under strength. They're surrounded by millions and millions of people who are against them. And it's fundamentally a small country, and most of the army are conscripts. But it's clear that thought has been put in. And then you look conversely at the United Kingdom, where it's clear absolutely no thought whatsoever has been put into.
Do you know what the difference is? That Israel is where we were in the Second World War. We had massive production. Everyone was conscripts, and once you're in the battle, and Israel is basically in a constant war all the time, which we did. I
understand that, but we're in an age of communications. We could just watch a similar country. And do you see what I mean, Charles? It just doesn't feel like
you have to be under threat. Which
it just doesn't feel like we've put any thought into our military, and therefore we have not got value for money. Because what we've got is a military bill and no military, or too little military capability.
Well, I seem to remember seeing polls.
Sorry. Let Charles answer. Then we'll go to you.
I seem to remember seeing polls which suggested that of all the things that people wanted to see cut during the 2010s, it was defence.
Right.
And I think that's probably why politicians have cut it. You can cut defence and not really annoy that many people apart from Daily Telegraph readers. Whilst if you cut education or benefits or healthcare, it has a real impact on people immediately. They go for defence.
And you therefore think if they said we can't afford enough teaching assistants, but here's an aircraft carrier, actually that would have been politically toxic?
Yes.
Yeah. Robert, I'll give you the final word before we go to the news.
I think that's being a little bit hypocritical, because if we've cut down on our hardware, how come we haven't cut down on the amount of admirals we've got? What are they doing?
We only got one ship. I mean, what are you going to do with 143 admirals and one ship?
I'm all in favour of...
They're going to run Regent's Park boating lake. That's one of them. There's another nice boating lake at Southend Pier. Right, I mean, it's
see, now you're thinking, Rob. Now you're thinking.
I'm all in favour of these Taxpayers Alliance figures that show you've got a grossly overpaid public sector, and we really have admirals, leaders of councils, politicians, leaders of bureaucracies and stuff like that. But it really is peanuts in the grand scheme of things. I mean, that's going to be, like 10, 20 million, something like that, when we're talking about a budget that's in the billions.
It's the waste of equipment. I mean, they bought a load of Apache helicopters and they said, we can do better than the American ones, took all the stuff out, put their own engines, and it didn't work. And then that was like £50 billion loss. And it's stuff like that. People are getting contracts who are linked.
But to the cooler, I will say this.
Yeah.
We should still get rid of those excessive admirals. Just because it's peanuts doesn't mean we shouldn't try and get rid of them.
Well, I do want to say to you that I am an admiral myself. I'm an admiral of the great state of Nebraska, appointed by the governor of Nebraska. He gives it out as an honour to around 200 people a month. So I will tell you that landlocked Nebraska, with its no ships at all, has got at least 20,000 admirals.
Have you got a uniform or anything like that? A sword? Have you got a whistle?
I don't think we use any of those things. Did you not know that? I'm an admiral.
I did not know.
He's got a few titles. I mean,
you should bring in a hat.
Yeah, have you got a triangular hat?
So it's worse for Nebraska. They reckon they've got 20 to 30,000 admirals and no ships at all. I'll tell you what, after the news, I'll tell you why Nebraska still appoints admirals, even though it's been landlocked, well, for its entire period of being a state. It hasn't moved its location.
Anyway, thanks for coming in, man. We've got Pete Barnes coming in next.
No problem.
Pete Barnes, stay tuned. It's Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. I promised I'd tell you about the Admirals of Nebraska.
Oh, yeah, we were all waiting with bated breath about that. Away you go.
The story, apparently, this was the story I got told. So every single American state appoints people in honorary positions to either the personal guard of the governor or the National Guard. So Kentucky, which I have, is obviously the colonelcy, Colonel Sanders being the most famous one. I think in Kentucky...
You're looking good.
Kentucky, you're not actually part of the National Guard. You're just a personal bodyguard to the governor. Once again, there are tens of thousands of them. Anyway, when it came to the War of 1812 between Britain and the United States of America, every state had to provide military forces. And the President of the United States of America wrote to the governor of Nebraska asking to requisition his navy. Which, of course, it's a landlocked state. They didn't have a navy at all, and they said, "Well, we're going to have to create a navy of Nebraska." And the only thing they could manage was there was one guy who'd been a deckhand before, like 20 or 30 years earlier. So they appointed him as an admiral and sent him off to Washington to assist with the war. And ever since then, they've been appointing admirals in Nebraska.
Imagine being that one guy. You thought you were clean and safe in Nebraska, didn't you? You thought they're never going to call me up. There's no navy, there's no sea, but somehow they still get you.
The one geezer is thinking, "Oh my God, I've got away with this. Funny. I've got away with this." Yeah, so
I'd be that guy.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so Asher, what we got?
Well, we got the papers starting with the Soar Away Sun. Free 20-page pull-out inside. Yeah, it's the Grand National. Do you have a flutter on the Grand National?
I always do, actually, but I don't put any kind of thought into it because it's the Grand National, so anybody can. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, do you get involved? Do you?
I used to. My mum used to be a 50p each way person.
Oh, well,
can you still do that?
Yeah, I think people still do. But on the Grand National, I see Zach Polanski wants to come out and ban it.
Yes.
Yeah, like clean.
He wants to ban he's cruel to horses. But what else would they do?
Did you see in Kent that that the Greens took a seat off Reform?
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They don't own Reform. Are no longer the outsiders. They're viewed as an incumbency in waiting. So that's how they're being viewed. Green are now the radical outsider.
Are you a gambler, Ash?
Yeah, I've had my times in the Spiegel. Yeah, I started off at the Ritz. Do you remember?
I think the question is, are you a good gambler?
Yeah, no, not really. Yeah, I've had various. There was a Midland Hotel in Manchester.
I used to
the
go
basement there.
The Grosvenor.
That's where it started.
No, it wasn't called the Grosvenor, was it?
Stackers Casino in Birmingham. It was called.
Yeah, what's the Grosvenor, is it?
No, it wasn't the Grosvenor when I was there.
No, the Grosvenor.
Midland Hotel.
The basement of the Midland Hotel in Manchester.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was called the Grosvenor.
No, it was owned by Grosvenor Group.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's going to annoy me now.
We're looking up in the break.
The horses and the football, of course.
I worry about gambling because I think it can be addictive.
Well, of course it is. And, when the fun stops, go and get more money and see if you can win the fun back. It's a mug's game, and it can ruin lives.
I've got to be honest with you. I do object to the adverts that you see on the television where they're going on and on and on about it. You put your gambling controls on. Those adverts.
That's the law, though, isn't it?
But those adverts are appealing to people with a gambling problem.
Yes.
Come to our website. We will stop you from gambling.
And look how many adverts we're going to throw at you. How many offers we'll throw at you.
Those adverts literally say, if you are addicted to gambling, come to our website and we can help you. It's a gambling website.
I think one thing that you could really introduce is a way that banks could stop you signing up to gambling websites. Like your bank account is frozen from joining.
They always find a way, don't they, the gamblers? It's like an addiction, a drug addiction.
The reality is the bookmakers, they make money off bozos like you and me who've got no idea.
Yeah, the big problem really is in-game gambling because it's now consistent throughout the game. At least before, you only could bet like either at halftime or at like certain intervals. Now you can bet on certain things that are happening within the game.
Really?
During the game. Gamblingaware.org is the thing. But a 20-page pull-out in the Sun tomorrow, and the main story, the headline is Costa del Crime, high street coffee chain, that's Costa Coffee, hires bouncers to guard the grub and all the beverages. Costa Coffee bosses have hired bouncers to protect their food and drink as the shoplifting epidemic hits a new low. Security guards have been deployed at stores where items are stolen by brazen thieves multiple times a day, including London and Manchester.
But this is because now the police have given up.
Yeah.
Therefore, what we now do is we've now got to hire our own private police to look after our property.
Yeah, but there's a reason the police have given up, and there's actually a reason Waitrose did what they did with this Walker guy. It's because the law is not on their side.
No.
If the guy who tackled this shoplifter at Waitrose had hurt him, and the guy
He's
had
allowed
taken
to
his,
do that in law. They get that wrong. I think it's insurance.
No, it's not. It's really, really careful.
If it's an arrestable offence, you can arrest him.
You don't get to decide what's an arrestable offence.
But theft is an arrestable offence.
No. But again, it's the person who's doing it.
But how
They
come
have
the
to
old
have the
store
right to do it.
detectives, they always
That's
used to
the
grab
point.
them?
They're not really there to do anything.
But they used to grab you.
They were,
Yeah, they used to. They
but
used
they've
to.
changed the
but
law
the,
behind it.
the CPS has been taken over by the left and the jihadis.
Oh,
right.
without a doubt.
The CPS now will go for the ordinary citizen.
Yeah.
The CPS are the enemy of this country and need to be abolished.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think this is really the point, is that, the police can do whatever they like, but what's the point when they're not going to get prosecuted?
Yeah, but this is obviously saying these people aren't going to get, because they're trained.
It's security.
But look, I went to a Donald Trump dinner. The guy comes in, he lies his way in. The police and the CPS and the courts will not prosecute him for aggravated trespass. Aggravated trespass is illegally entering a property, trespassing for the purposes of disrupting a lawful activity. The CPS will not do it because they are extremists.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You're not going to get an argument against me on that. But again, the only way you change that is to change the people at the CPS, and then also
abolish the CPS.
Oh, one thing you also have to do is change the law.
Yeah.
We keep changing personnel, but it's the structure that's still in place.
Do you know what I think you should do? Right? Here's my controversial view. I believe in the return of the outlaw. If you are in the process of committing a criminal offence, you are not protected by the law.
I think that's
so.
a very solid rule.
If you come and rob my shop and I slit your throat, then you shouldn't have robbed my shop.
And I think it's the same if you break into somebody's house and they whack you over the head with a rolling
Absolutely
pin.
right.
I think that's perfectly
Absolutely right.
reasonable.
If you come into my house and I kill you, then that's great.
But just to be clear, that is not the law currently. You can only use reasonable force.
No, you can't use reasonable force. You can only use the bare minimum force as decided later by the police and the CPS. It is not reasonable.
It's the jury that would decide. Let's David Lammy has his way.
It isn't true. It is not true to say that you can use reasonable force in this country.
No.
If you use reasonable force in this country, you are going to court.
Yes.
You have to use the bare minimum force, and that is with hindsight, knowing the danger afterwards, and that will be decided by the police and CPS.
Yeah, and I think that would probably amount to a strongly worded letter. That's about the minimum.
That's absolutely right.
Actually, that's the maximum, really, to what you should do. And that's the ridiculousness of the law, the situation. So, Costa can have these people, but the law is still working against them. And that's what we really have to get to grips with. A lot of these security guards are really theatre. It's therefore to try to deter people from doing it, not to stop people from doing it. It's slightly different. It's like airport security scanners realistically don't stop terrorist events. So the security and the services before they get to the airport stops the event. The last bit is supposed to be a final check, but that's
but if you think about it, the security people at airports, how much Semtex do they find?
I'd rather not know the answer to that question.
The answer is zero.
Yeah.
The answer is zero. How many machine guns?
Yeah.
Not many.
How many should they find is a different question.
I shut off the explosives machine once at the airport.
Oh, with the residue?
Yeah, but apparently it's quite easy to happen.
Yeah, if you have certain bagels, it's in...
That'll be it.
Yeah. It's
the old bagel problem.
It's
the Semtex filled with cream cheese and Semtex.
It's one of the seeds. It's got the same chemical compound as one of the things...
Seed?
I think it's a sesame seed. Or it's something like that. I'm sure it is. I'll look it up. But,
so what I'm going to do, I'm going to rub sesame
because it was really common when this was brought in New York. Because obviously bagels and and obviously with Israel as well, it's that it was one of the bagel types, the seeds. Because if you ate too much of it or you got on your hands, it would be picked up by the scanners. Yeah,
what do they do at Ben Gurion Airport?
No, they just swipe your hands with a swab. It's the same. Have you never done it when you've been...
I've done it loads of times.
Yeah, so that's what they're looking for.
I got swiped.
It's certain colours come up with a certain thing, and then what?
No, they swipe it and then they put it in this iron
itemizer.
Yeah,
it's called an itemizer.
And I went, what's it saying? She went, explosives. I went, what is that about? She goes, oh no, you've probably had bagel seeds.
No, I'll tell you the worst story I ever had. Right, we had this bloke. When I worked at the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, this guy called Alan Barwise, Mr. Barwise, who was the pub inspector, which was very that's life.
I feel like that's a made-up job.
Very that's life. But he loved it. Like he used to have all of it. Like he used to wear a stab vest. He had his Motorola walkie-talkie. He dressed like a paramilitary, right? And all he used to do was check the pubs didn't have any dickheads going in. But anyway, he told me this story. He said, right. He said, so he'd wanted a sniffer dog and an itemizer. Right. I think I may have told you this. So he said, I was at Maidenhead Station doing a drugs operation. Right, okay. And he said, the sniffer dog finds this bloke. And when we open his bag and check, he's got prescription medication that sets the itemizer off. He said, what do you think of that? And I said, Alan, you can't start stopping people at the train station. And he said, we want to catch some drug users. Alan, you're the bar inspector. It's a criminal offence. You can't. He said, well, I think you're being very negative to us. And it's not negative, right? Stop arresting people illegally. Please do not do this anymore. Can you believe that? He borrowed a sniffer dog from the Thames Valley Police and mounted his own.
Come in handy sometimes, couldn't it?
Mounted his own drugs operation, made that train station.
It always comes back to what my grandfather always says. He says, the Third Reich will return as a British civil servant with a high-vis jacket and a clipboard.
That's right.
I think, it's those people that, they get a little bit of power.
Poppy seeds, they're opium. They're opium. Of course, heroin comes from the poppy seed.
There you go. I knew it was something.
Yeah. Oh, so it's poppy seeds to drugs.
Yeah, of course they do, because poppy seeds is opium, isn't it? That's where
they always do my shoes. Because I refuse to take my shoes off.
Big platforms, so
I've got gas.
You can't wear those stilettos because they pierce the thing.
The problem is, if I take my shoes off, it'll be a good 3 minutes of me screaming, putting them back on.
It is a bio.
People fainting.
It's a bioweapon.
Okay. What have we got?
Well, the Daily Express, and this is a timely message from DJ Hero. Not many of them left. Mervyn Kirsch, 101. As global insecurity rises, he says, the importance isn't to win wars, but to avoid them by being too strong for anyone to dare attack. And it is as important and as vital today as it was back in the 1930s. And we are now, everybody, at our weakest ever point in the history of this country, militarily, culturally, in every single way.
1940.
Yeah, well, since before ever, actually, in our history. We've never had one boat like
I know, I find it quite funny that Keir Starmer got to the Gulf before HMS Dragon did. I find that quite funny. I find it funny and then deeply, deeply concerning. But this is the old phrase of "Sealy pass and parabellum." If you want peace, prepare for war. In other words, you can't just let your army disappear and then start sending it everywhere. It doesn't make any sense.
And then claiming credit for the peace. Wasn't that embarrassing?
It was. My favourite was the facial expressions of all the soldiers in the back at the press conference that he was giving. They were like, "What is he doing here? We can't stand it."
He doesn't have awareness, does he? Because he must not realise that everyone thinks what an idiot, and even the world now.
Yeah.
So, but he can't realise.
He's no Churchill.
Oh, he's definitely.
He's not even a Chamberlain. Chamberlain actually declared war. You know what I mean? He's more like an Obama, isn't he?
Not even Obama.
Not even that. At least he had a bit of charisma. He's like nothing. He's like nothing.
But the thing is, though, he's not going anywhere. I think he's that lacking in self-awareness. I think he will just cling on.
But isn't that actually safer than the jokers that are behind him?
In a way, I think that is actually, because at least we know he's predictably bad. We know what with Choice Street A and B, and A's not that bad and B is terrible. We know which one he's going to
make the bad
decision. So you can at least move around him, I suppose. But I do think in a way we've had to go through a Keir Starmer just to kind of wake up a little bit on
we had was it Myron Sentinel Nathan who used to come on who said that that we needed to hit rock bottom. Have we hit rock bottom, do you think?
No, because people don't understand the economics.
Will that be when we have to go cap in hand to the IMF? And
there is no money to go cap in hand to anybody.
So what happens?
That's the problem.
How does it come falling down?
Explain that.
So basically, because everybody who doesn't have money has been lending money to everybody else, who's got the money to bail anyone out? That's the big problem. So one of the reasons I actually think it is not necessarily a bad idea to go back into the European Union right now is because if they manage to get some kind of organised deal, we would be part of it and we might get a little bit of a pie.
Yeah, but they pull us down with their crap economy.
Well, I'm saying it's unreal because, the Eurozone has an 88% debt to GDP ratio, so they're broke.
Are they in a better state? Because when Starmer came into power, our economy was actually booming along a bit, and now we're sort of worse than Europe.
Our economy has not recovered from 2008. We're not at the kind of level. We're barely anywhere, and until we get that, until people understand that.
But when Sunak left, it was growing faster than any G7.
Yeah.
Since Starmer came, we're actually at the bottom now.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, because you can't funnel money into the public sector that doesn't create money, doesn't create wealth, doesn't create jobs, and then think it's going to boom the economy.
I mean, they made about £22 billion hole and then spent £60 billion.
But they believe that expanding the public sector is expanding the economy, don't they?
Yes, they do, because they don't understand.
Which is really odd.
They don't contribute
because
anything.
They think
the
the economy
sector.
is a finite, because they think it's finite. So therefore, you're just moving resources around. What they don't understand is the economy grows and therefore expands. It's not just the amount of it. It's one of those things where it goes up and it goes out. They just think it just kind of goes up, and that's not really how it works.
It's the private sector that pays for everything.
Yes, without a doubt. It is the only thing that pays for anything, really. And also speculation and risk, people investing and entrepreneurs and stuff like that we don't have in this country anymore because they all left.
And they're leaving, I can't blame them. 0344 499 1000. We're going to be taking all your calls very shortly and leave your voicemails. But currently we're with Pete Barnes going through the papers. It's Andre and Ash on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Pete Barnes, and Asher Gould. I thought I'd change up the running order there.
Trump has said, just looking at Telegraph, Iranian regime is only alive so it can negotiate. So he's only allowing them to live to negotiate. Apparently these are the most hardcore of all, even the ones that were existing before. Do you think it's been... We're getting this false impression for a lot of the media because of the Trump derangement syndrome. I've got a feeling it's actually going quite well, apart from obviously the Straits of Hormuz, but I think they will get that under control. They're just playing silly games, Iran.
Yeah,
with Hezbollah and all.
Most of what we've heard when it comes to Iran or Israel for the last 3 to 4 years has been categorical drivel, because it's driven by the idea that that person can't possibly be right because they are the bad person, and it is tiring, it's exhausting, and anybody who has not been able to point to the Strait of Hormuz before the last 40 days is not allowed to start lecturing me on what it all means. Most people don't understand it, and it's fine that you don't understand, but maybe consider the fact that some people do, and it's exhausting. It genuinely is. This guy could literally solve world peace tomorrow, cure cancer, feed starving kids, and they would still say, well, he didn't do it fast enough. Yeah. That's the level that we're at now. And I mean, we just have to look at this Melania Trump situation. There's a prime example. The same people that are attacking Melania Trump were saying that Hillary Clinton should be president not so long ago, and her record had protected
I will admit one thing. I thought the Straits of Hormuz was next to Djibouti.
All right. I thought you were going to say a band or an album, or you were going to say hummus.
What I mean is the other side.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah. Because also, people have to stop thinking that the Strait of Hormuz is a canal. It isn't.
No.
And because it's not a canal, it doesn't have a toll in the sense that you pay $2 million. That's not how...
It's against the law. That's never going to happen.
And this is why the 35-country thing that France has been organising, not Keir Starmer, because they've been doing it with Bahrain, and their idea is actually to bypass the Straits altogether. What we
are talking about here is we're talking about... So we all understand... I think many of us understand in just a general sense things like territorial waters, exclusive economic areas and things like that. What people forget is that international waters are far closer to your shoreline in certain circumstances. Great example being the English Channel. Right, where France and the UK could shut the English Channel, but it would be illegal.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And that's why when the Russians floated their aircraft carrier through the English Channel, what was it, 5 miles off the coast of the UK, or whatever it was, perfectly legal to do that.
Perfectly legal to do it. And
it's the equivalent of us just saying nobody is allowed to go past Dover.
No.
And also, it's not just Iran. Of course, the other side, you've got the Emirates and all those.
So this is the thing, is that it is the grouping together of the Gulf states to work on security and to manage this region that has actually been the real outcome of all of this, because it means that America could pull out and they don't have to worry about it, because now they have solid partners
with American planes.
But they've got rid of the one factor that keeps messing it all up, which is Iran. So you had this Abraham Accords. So you had
that's
Saudi
why
Arabia,
Iran kicked up a
fuss.
fuss.
That's why they kicked up a fuss, because they realised that a united Middle East based on an American foreign policy tinge was the worst thing they could happen, and also China would not want that at all. So this has really been one of the great things about it, and why it's not Iraq and it's not Libya or anything like that is because the nations around it are now going to take over the managing of it, and it's just why Pakistan, for example, is the negotiator. They have a really large land border with Iran. The last thing they need right now is a refugee crisis and everybody coming over the border.
Do you know what? I've just looked. I will give you a tenner.
Oh, here we go.
If you can name the strait that I was talking about. So we're talking about Saudi Arabia is basically a rectangle. One side is the Strait of Hormuz. What is the other side? I challenge anyone to know Bab al-Mandab Strait. Bab al-Mandab.
Bab al-Mandab.
Bab al-Mandab.
I think that sounds like it's on a menu somewhere.
I'm sure I've got that wrong.
Yeah.
Bab al-Mandab.
It's nothing to do with hummus as well. A lot of people are confusing, and hummus stocks going under at supermarkets.
By the way, before we move on to anything else, we were talking earlier about what when you get 6 lumps of bread together, what are they called?
6 bakers. What do you mean?
No, like what are the individual
slices,
pieces of bread?
A crust.
No, remember, right.
I don't know what you're talking
about. The problem is I can't name them without telling you what I'm naming them. Right. So, okay, if you get chips in a
bag.
What's the bread called?
Oh, breadcrumb. Breadcrumb, no?
No.
Breadcrumbs.
What type of... All right, what do you call a roll?
A bomb cake.
Right, okay.
Bomb cake. See, I told you, bomb cake.
I don't think that was that difficult. I'll tell you what, I can't play.
Oh, yeah. It's the classic...
but they also say chip butter.
Chip bomb.
Chip butter, chip bomb,
chip
bomb
butter.
cake.
Yeah. I don't know why bomb cake.
It's not a cake, it's not, what's bomb? Anyway, Daily Mail, we're sitting on a gold mine. North Sea oil hits record highs. So why won't Redhead drop his net zero madness and back new drilling to give Britain a boost?
Because he's a religious extremist.
Yes.
And a lunatic.
We have to also get it into our heads that we have to rebuild the platform to then drill, to then get it out of the ground and then sell it. This is not an immediate fix.
Sure, but we should do it anyway.
But we should do it anyway. However, people seem to get it into their minds at the moment that we just drill and therefore it's fixed. It is a lot more complicated than that, and it's going to take time because of the damage of Ed Miliband, because they basically made it very difficult.
And he's not going anywhere, that Fruit Loop, at the moment, is he?
No, he's on track to be Prime Minister. So,
as we've previously discussed on this show, ago, significant efforts were made to ensure not just that Britain was not an oil and gas producer, but could not become one in the future without significant effort.
But also, you know, with Miliband, it's almost as though, because he already lost an election, didn't he? And you wouldn't normally put someone forward like that. It's as though they know they're not going to win. You know what I mean? Well, they
it's
do
his
know.
kind of like conversion.
It's weird,
I
isn't
suppose.
it?
Yeah, I don't know. It is odd, but I do think the fact that he'd lost has somehow been his redemption arc kind of thing. That he said, "Oh, I didn't go far enough, and I was beaten by the evil right-wing press, and it was all this." You know, he gets to lean into the narrative.
They like losers as well,
they
don't
do.
they?
They really do.
You can't get really much more. Anyway, the Daily Mirror, Harry sued, and Prince faces defamation battle with his former African
He
charity.
should just move into the High Court, shouldn't he?
Oh,
He's there every 5 minutes.
I presume he's got apartments there.
Yeah, next time they're having a go at him, Prince Harold is being sued for defamation by the African...
By the way, his name's not Harold, it's Henry.
I know,
It is
but
Henry,
I like to call him Harold. Prince Harold is being sued for defamation by the African AIDS charity set up in honour of Mum Princess Diana, the Duke of Sussex, quitters patron of Sentebale last year in the wake of a bust-up with chairwoman Dr. Sophie Chandorka. The charity said it is taking action against Harold over an adverse media campaign. He's getting a bit back
Do you know what the Queen apparently said to Princess Diana about her support for AIDS charities? I understand why she said this. She said, but can you not just find some nice people?
Yes, I do get what she's saying.
It's a horrible thing to say, but I get why she said it.
Yeah,
it was like, that's just a bit...
Yeah, that's true. But I will say, on this one with Prince Harry, he suddenly realised that being a celebrity doesn't mean you're right.
Yes.
And I think that is the big thing, that, you know, people saying no and suddenly him being able to give an opinion is perfectly fine. There are consequences to that opinion. And it's interesting that one of his best friends is part of the claimant. Like, they've actually, they work for Sentebale and basically said, no, what Prince Harry has been going around saying is not right, and all that. It started to affect them on a kind of fundraising level and all the rest of it.
And what has he said?
Basically, do you remember when he walked away from it and he said that it was corrupt and it was this and all that?
Yeah, I do
we
remember
covered
that.
it on Woke, actually. You tell how long ago it was. But I will say that, you know, it's not the first time he's done this.
I'll tell you what's quite strange. So, I mean, the reason why I think it was probably a mistake to get involved in the charity in Africa is because, if you remember the royal family, it seems to me that all you can do in terms of your charitable work is turn up to stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You can't operationally run the charity. And therefore, what I would say if I was a member of the royal family, look, perfectly happy to lobby Save the Children or whatever, or Oxfam, to give money to an African charity, but I can't run an African charity from Britain, right? Now, obviously, I can't run Cancer Research UK either, but there's the Charity Commission.
Yes.
You see? So all I'll be able to say is, any complaints about AIDS UK, the Elton John Foundation, or whatever, or any of these things, talk to the Charity Commission. But I can't do that if it's in Nairobi, right? And therefore, I think this is the problem that he's got, because suddenly he now has to run the charity. He has an opinion on the operation of the charity. He may be right, he may be wrong. The High Court will decide, but it is all just a big mess.
It is, and it's one of the reasons that I was never in favour of getting rid of the UK Aid Department, merging the Foreign
Disasters
Office.
Emergency Committee and all that.
Moving all this into one is because it actually running these organisations is a big skill.
Yes.
And it's one of the reasons they get paid a lot of money, because it's international. It is a lot of moving parts. It's logistics. It's fundraising. It's PR. It's a job.
But the other thing
Prince
is,
Harry is nowhere near qualified.
The other thing is merging overseas aid and the Foreign Office is pointless as long as the Bribery Act exists.
Yes.
Because look, we tied previously, and I support this, we tied aid to foreign affairs. It's not legal to do that now.
No, it's
Therefore, there's no point in merging them. In fact, actually, it's worse to merge them, because now there is a potential illegal conflict of interest.
I know, yeah, but it's 2016, and that's basically going to be the epitaph of the year. It's illegal conflict.
2016.
But no, I do
2026.
2026.
Well, hey,
that's 10 years, man. We're into
Tell
a
me about
time
it.
war.
But no, again, Prince Harry's just running around running his mouth, and eventually somebody has said this has to stop, and I actually think this might be, if he wins or loses, this is a shot across the bow to him, and I think his lawyers may say, you've got to rein it in a little bit because you don't have enough money to kind of pay these people back if they get to prove it.
He needs to get a grip with his hair.
You have to remember that the defamation rate, the kind of level, is very, very high. So, you know,
and they ain't got much cash. They're running out of cash because no one wants to buy their crappy scam jam.
There's only so many jams you can sell.
Yeah, those dried flour sprinkles.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. I mean, if you were to go into anything that's highly profitable, I mean, I think making rubbish Netflix stuff is probably better than
They're
jam.
the only celebrities I know that can lose money making wine. Everybody else becomes a billionaire over it.
Do you remember Gwyneth Paltrow made those candles that actually smelt of her?
I'd rather not.
And on that bombshell, we'll take a little break. It's Pete Barnes going through the papers with me and Andre on Talk. 03444991000. We'll be talking to Heather, Cindy, Mandy, Mark, Graham. Who's that? I don't know what that says. Shannon and Erin, and you as well after midnight, and probably maybe a bit before as well. But stay with us. It's Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the press preview with Asher Gould, Andre Walker and Pete Barnes. Hey!
Yay! The Daily Star. Who are Daily Star? And here's the superfan, Scott Mills superfan. Scotland superfan spends $5,000 on DJ Shrine. He says, I still love him. And this is like that Alan Partridge episode where he gets taken home to the man and he goes in the house and there's all pictures of
Jed Maxwell's house.
Very similar.
Yeah, I was going to say, life has just become one big episode of Alan Partridge, really.
Yeah,
This country is an Alan Partridge episode.
No, but hang on a second. Would if it's true that Scott Mills was, I don't know if I've asked you this before, is it true, if it's true that Scott Mills was fully exonerated by a police investigation, that he had sex with somebody underage 30 years ago, but it was later proved that he did have sex with the person when they were over the age of 16, i.e. he was 22 and they were 16, would you have sacked him?
No.
I don't think you can.
No, I don't think you can. And this is the one thing that if Scott Mills is able to prove this, sue the BBC for everything they've got. Because this nonsense has to stop. This is literally yet again a classic example of the BBC reacting, not being proactive.
Yes.
They have no procedures. The people in charge of the procedures, I presume, are just on holiday most of the time. And yet again, we're now at the point where the marking their own homework bit has to go. They are not capable of running their own
I'd rather just abolish them.
Oh, I would, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. So I actually think you take out the complaints, the kind of procedure, put it into the Department of Sport, Media and Culture Select Committee, and that becomes the marker of the BBC. So you take the Quango aspect out of it, and you make it so the public still have accountability. You make it politicians that do it. And I bet you any money that would clean up a lot of the BBC, because you get a lot more politics actually affecting the BBC, and it's not a monolith anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem, of course, is that there are very few people who want to see BBC reform but don't want to see the BBC abolished.
Yes, yeah.
So
I also don't think there's that. I don't think that appetite is in the country. I really, really don't. I think there's a lot of people still have a lot of, like, not affection for it, but a bit of a kind of, well, you know, it's the BBC, but I think they want it better run. I don't think they want it abolished.
I think they get annoyed by BBC News.
Yes, I actually think they get annoyed by all of it now. I think its entire output is no different, whether it's the news or it's EastEnders. It's all pushing the same agenda because it's the same people.
Is it? I don't watch it.
Well, again, it's just whenever I'm asked to talk about it here, normally, it seems to be when it's the dramas and things, it's the same problems that the news divisions have.
Do you know what I might actually do?
That's the PSYOPs unit that does that. I mean, they actually paid them to. They'll give them money to do that. This is what happened with adolescents.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was a previous girlfriend of Starmer, if there was such a thing, and basically...
Let's not repeat that.
No, but I mean, but basically, it's the same people that said, don't look back in anger, and they put the same photo on all the different press. It was the department that followed and tagged people like Julia Hartley-Brewer,
that was run by...
And this department is the one that puts the PSYOPs and tells...
Sue Gray. It was Sue Gray's
Quangos, I think it's something to do with lottery Quangos, they give money to...
Sue Gray was basically the head of the KGB, wasn't she?
Yeah, essentially. But it was terrifying that person even existed.
It's just amazing. Sue Gray, congratulations, Baroness Bray. Gray rather, not Bray. Sue Gray. Her previous job before being a senior civil servant was to run a pub in Northern Ireland.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I think
there's a reason
interesting,
yeah.
isn't
I mean, that was all,
my favourite thing. My favourite thing about her now being a member of the House of Lords is that she's Lady Grey, and that doesn't end well for people in history, does it?
And her son got a safe seat.
I've got to be honest with you. People who had, I love the way that people who had units. People who had units at number 10 looking into political opponents previously ran pubs in Northern Ireland.
Well, they're very good at it.
Really?
Yeah.
What was her skill at university? Pulling pints?
I was going to say, it's a unique skill
intelligence?
Intelligence. Well, but you go back to the reason that police officers should be in the community, in the pubs, is pubs tell everything.
Oh,
you overhear everything in a pub.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it would all go quiet when they came in the door.
Well, you wouldn't wear the uniform.
That's right.
The FT weekend, £5.40, by the way, which is why they had furniture adverts like of this none of us have ever heard of.
Ronald Phillips.
Ronald, look at the beautiful thing. It's not IKEA in there. If you're spending £5.40 on a paper, they have nice...
Let's look at Ronald.
Let's have a look at Ronald Phillips. It's beautiful. It's like a Wedgwood...
yeah, it is.
It's like Wedgwood, but like, anyway, US inflation leaps to 2-year high, soaring fuel lifts prices. They pay less than half what we pay. They still moan, those Americans.
I was going to say,
Ronald Phillips is one antique shop in London, and he's got a front page on the FT.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
He's not playing games, is he?
Ronald himself likes the FT.
Yes, probably. Right. Or Ronald actually runs a very exclusive, antique dealership to people that don't live in the United Kingdom.
Yeah. Ronald McDonald. Iran demands end to asset freeze. Pakistan talks under cloud. US inflation is 2 year high.
Look, Ronald Phillips has got a mirror for sale. It's a Macclesfield Pier mirror.
They want it back in Macclesfield.
Offers over £100,000.
£100,000 for
right, let's find some more Ronald Phillips.
What does it do? The mirror?
It's a mirror.
Is that it?
Right, let's
do any tricks.
I'm going to view the Ronald Phillips collection just to see. Look at that. George III Saturn wood.
That is a beauty.
That is lovely.
And it's a commode. You can do a poo in it as well.
What?
Amazing.
It's not. It is a commode.
Yeah. So you can do a poo in your chest of drawers.
That is a chest of drawers you can have a shit in.
Yeah, because that's what the aristocracy. They were
that
so
is not
rich.
Acceptable.
They would open their mahogany and go, "Excuse me, darling." Yeah, and that would be it.
Oh, I like that. George III.
Garçon would come and put some sawdust on it, take it away.
George III Giltwood Eagle console table. How much is that? Come on, how much?
Yeah, we could have that down here, couldn't we?
Oh, he only wants offers between 50 and 100,000.
It's not bad because this is looking a bit shabby. This type.
Should we inquire? Should we inquire? Right. Should we say?
I'll bring it back to the paper.
No, tell you what we'll do. Tell you what we'll do. I'll inquire, but I'll pretend to be Julia Hartley-Brewer. She's on a couple of quid. She'll get an email from...
They'll be interested in that, won't they? The Guardian, 25 books to read before you're 25, so I better be quick. Don't try to play us, says Vance, ahead of Iran talks, and this is he's going out to try and do the peace talks and everything, and they're already playing games, like in the ceasefire, Lebanon
there wasn't a ceasefire
included.
to begin with.
Sorry to interrupt again. The Ronald Phillips Furniture lists the books that the piece of furniture has been mentioned in.
That's incredible.
That is you don't get that at MFI.
No, you don't.
You do not get that at MFI.
Is there even an MFI anymore?
It has a literature section. So if you want to buy the books that your furniture is mentioned in, you can do it at Ronald
Didn't
Phillips.
MFI get infiltrated? No, it's MI5.
It's MI5.
Sorry, I'm going to shut Ronald Phillips.
Yes.
I'm fascinated by Ronald Phillips.
So it's really important that it's Vance that's gone, because this is his kind of audition to be the nominee for the Republicans.
Do you think he'll get it?
No.
Why not?
Because
he's shown a bit of weakness, hasn't he?
He's also, I don't think he's got the head for it.
Rubio
I think Marco Rubio is a better choice. Now, Vance might get it. That's not means I think he should. But I would rather Rubio at the moment.
It's between those two, and I think Rubio...
Because the future is more international, and he's a little bit more too domestic.
And he changed his mind when he got the job as vice president. You know what I mean? It's a bit like, the guy went from Tories to Reform, Generic. It's a bit like, I like you now. I don't think you're a Nazi
I have to admit, it does seem a kind of little bit careerist, but he's not been wrong on a lot of the stuff. But this is a real test, I think, in terms of can he actually be the president? In terms of
he showed a bit of weakness with Iran, though. I think.
Also the fact that he had to be convinced that it was a world's problem when India and Pakistan started having a go at each other. And I find that a little concerning, considering there's two nuclear powers.
American-centric.
Actually starting to bomb each other, and he went, "Well, is it really our problem? It's everybody's problem."
And the thing is, a ceasefire to the west, a ceasefire means maybe there'll be peace. To Islamists, it means, oh, good, they've given us a few more days to get together our stuff. And now there's reports that Iran are putting roadblocks in front of where their nuclear material is. So they're obviously shaping up for it.
Because it's really important to notice that we don't have a ceasefire. We have one group operating on one terms, one group operating on another terms. That, by definition, is not a ceasefire.
As I say,
what it is just a pause.
All they do, I mean, we've seen it in Israel with Hamas. All they do is they use it. They will not negotiate. You can't negotiate with someone with a religious fundamental.
The reality is, we need the Mad Mullahs dead.
No, but that's the opposite of what we need, actually.
Go on.
Because this is what we've learned from the last time. You can't kill everybody because you've nobody to negotiate with. Then the state collapses. What you need is to stabilise, and so you don't want a regime in America's image. You want it in America's interest. So basically, you bind the regime into certain positions so that it doesn't do certain things. Otherwise, the consequences
basically develop nuclear weapons is the main thing.
This is the opposite of nation building. But what you do is you make the nation depleted, but not dead. And that's what Trump has been doing, because if we saw it in Iraq, basically you take out that and everything just falls apart.
Well, that's why he's actually said, we're keeping them alive so there's someone to negotiate with. So he is actually doing what he says, and basically what they will want and what Israel want, and they may allow it if this happens. Is obviously the straits have got to be open, but the main thing is they've got to stop and allow inspectors and stop the development of nuclear weapons.
100%. That one is non-negotiable. But when it comes to the opening of the straits, this is why it's important for the Gulf states and also other European nations who are very heavily reliant on it to start thinking of an alternative so that one nation can't choke such an important bit of global trade.
But do you not think it's already fractured now, and you're going to have separate groups just firing handheld missiles at ships in the Straits?
Well, this is the point. If you can get the region to police itself, you don't need that. So so Europe has to step in now with the region stabilised to police itself.
But so I was talking earlier about Djibouti and the fact that I knew a little bit about the Bab al-Mandab Strait. Right, okay. But it is significant because that is another bottleneck, isn't it? It's virtually the same as the Straits of Hormuz. Yeah, that's right. It's basically one's the Red Sea, one's the Persian Gulf. But okay, two sides of that rectangle, which most of us can visualise. The reason why Djibouti is important is because it's the bit on the other side of Yemen, right? So basically, So we've got the Brits and Americans, we've got the French, we've got the Chinese, and all of them there to make sure their ships can get through, so they can get to the Suez Canal, which is further north. Why can't we just build similarly massive bases in the United Arab Emirates, which would be almost the same thing? It would be the Djibouti of the
building
Straits of
pipelines, aren't they?
Well, this is what is happening.
Okay,
this is literally. So I think the UAE and I think Saudi Arabia and another. I think it's probably either Bahrain, Oman, or maybe Qatar as well. They're starting to build these bases. They're starting to put positions in to control this area and to try actually to make sure.
The Houthis in Yemen attempted to shut the Bab al-Mandab Strait. Right, I didn't know the name.
I love it when people learn a new phrase.
But they tried to shut. They tried to shut that pinch point. And now I accept that they do not have the power that Iran has. But you know what? Every serious nation on earth is now keeping that strait open.
Yes, and it's because it's not about whether the nations have the ability to whether Houthis can match a nation. It's do insurance companies believe states can keep the strait open. That is what is dictating oil prices. It's nothing to do with the actual kind of...
Will the ships be safe?
Will the ships be safe? Will things get there on time? Will the people actually go through it? In other words, will the ships actually bother doing it, or do they have to be priced around it? And this is the thing that matters, is actually convincing the insurance companies and the kind of the fleets of ships that actually travel the world that it is safe to do so. And that's why it's up to the states to work together to make sure that the trade lines are open, because they're optimized. So in other words, there's no secondary function to it. There's no backup if it goes down. This is the big point, because a backup slows it down, which only increases prices. So this is where you've got to keep everything open. Trade is we always say that a map isn't really where countries are, it's the bits in between them that matter. That is the bit that we really have to get our heads around, and until we do that, we are more susceptible to a rogue nation.
So the current cost of going through the Straits of Hormuz has gone from, and this is the most recent figures, but may well not be accurate, from 0.25% of the value of the ship and its contents to 3%. Which is a pretty significant...
They're asking for $1 a barrel.
Yeah, but you also have to look at
how
much money the US pumped into the security bonds for shipping before they launched this. They knew this was going to happen, so they've done a significant amount of work. And I think it's a company called Chubbs, who are one of the big fleet shipping like they do all there. This year, now.
Yeah, you're talking about her earlier, weren't you?
And anyway,
she's all right
so
now.
This company is then
she didn't sweat much for a fat lass.
Yeah, so if you look at like what Maersk is saying, what Chubbs is saying, all these big things, they've all worked with the US to make sure that this is relatively not that bad in terms of price. Because somebody says to me that oil has gone through the roof.
It's got to $100. I mean, it's not. It stayed.
It's 147, and that was in 2008.
Exactly, and it was 115 last week. It's now 100, just around 90 to 100.
I'm quite surprised that any insurance company would insure.
It's because it's not actually shut. It's because ships
America have backed it up, haven't they? They've said they're going to back up some of them.
There are things in place. So when people say it's shut, you're going to have to explain to me how 17 ships went through it yesterday. Now, that is a fraction, but
only friendly ships, not American ones, only ones that are mates to them.
So this is why, when it comes to them charging money and stuff, they can't do it because it's illegal, which is the most important thing, is that these companies don't pay. Because the minute they pay, it is no longer a coercive, it's not a coercive payment, it is baked into the pricing.
Well, also there's two coastlines. There's more than, it's not just their coastline, there's a south coastline as well.
But don't I just say, if I'm the head of an international oil firm, many of which we don't know the names of because they're explorative companies and oil drillers and whatever, can't I just say, I'm really sorry, I have paid a payment to the Iranian government to move my ships through safely. I'm sorry that undermines the negotiations.
It's like paying kidnappers, isn't it? It's like paying a kidnapper.
The problem is you can't do that because of the sanctions. It means
so I'd be committing criminal offence.
I know you can't pay kidnappers in America. It's also illegal. Anyway, we've got to take a little break at this juncture, haven't we? 03444991000. Give us a ring because it's all about your calls after the news. But we're just going to finish off the papers with Pete. It's Andre and Ash. Andre JP Walker at Virtual Ash. What's
at PC Barnes 123.
Back after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and we've got to take this cable down.
Honestly.
Right. So what happens is this studio is badly designed, Pete. So what happens is the cable runs under Asher's feet. Right. And what Asher does is whenever he moves his foot, which understandably he's going to do over a 3-hour period, right? He yanks my jacket downwards. Right. This is
it's good for the liver.
Why have they designed the studio like this?
It wasn't designed with these.
I don't think it was designed for two people.
It was designed with the
those sticks.
I've got to be honest with you. I don't think there's any problem with those things.
I don't know. They might be less reliable. I'm not.
No. The bosses felt that because we were going on to TV, we should get rid of them. But actually, quite a lot of YouTube TV and whatever does have those big.
Larry, you know, a lot of the Americans, they all have. It's not even on, but Letterman, they all have that mic there.
Yeah,
that's true. Actually,
not even you.
I think that's kind of like I said. It's the homage to the radio aspect.
Yeah, but why can't we do the homage? We can do homage like anyone. Anyway, the Weekend.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. So 70% of our audience are listeners. And you know, well, why not admit that we're a radio? I always said this about the other place, right? They're a TV channel that's on the radio. We're a radio channel that's on the TV.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why there's a fundamentally different feel when you watch each of them.
It's why I always think that the shows are so long here. It's because it is still designed like a radio show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
The Weekend alarming delays to defence plan hit UK ability to fight Putin. Insiders warn government under growing pressure to deliver 300 billion defence investment plan as experts to warn that delays will leave Britain without fighting equipment and personnel. We haven't got the money though, have we, Pete?
No.
We're spending all our money on welfare. We tried to cut it by 5%, which is nothing. As I said last month, we borrowed 13 billion and 12 billion of that went out to pay just the interest on our debt.
It's a sad story, that
but
is.
Also,
we're finished, man. And
it's not just the welfare bill that's the problem, it's the debt interest repayments.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why we're borrowing money to pay it's like the credit card, but
we're
12 billion.
What is it? Stealing from Peter to pay Paul, and now we're stealing from Paul.
But it's like literally 13 billion borrowed, only 1 billion on stuff, and 12 billion on interest.
Pete, you were talking earlier about the inability to bail out.
Yeah.
Look, first of all, I think I know the answer to this question, but perhaps you can help me anyway. Who do we owe all this money to, and will they lend us money forever?
We owe it to other nations, or we owe it to a lot of it is kind
of
bondholders.
So I can go and buy a bond, can I?
Yes. So basically, you go buy a bond that is a little bit of money that the government gives out, and all that. It's the way it works. However, the problem is the more bonds you put out, the less valuable they become, and the more unreliable you become as a kind of you pay it back. And this is the point: is that all
then your currency gets weak.
And that is the big point.
Yeah.
It is the currency, which is why what Charles was saying earlier wasn't really that wrong about what we might need to do in terms of getting rid of the pound. It's what they did with why the euro exists. But I will say, when it comes to
so what you're basically saying is the euro has been abolished, and a new euro that looks exactly the same has replaced it.
Yes, because money is based on one thing: it's trust and confidence. We trust that £10 note is £10, but it is the markets and the confidence of it that actually then says that £10 this is what it's actually worth.
Yes,
that's the difference.
We've seen that over the last sort of 5 years, where things have gone up like 5%.
But what people can't understand is how you can have abolished a currency. And introduced a new currency, and it have the same notes.
Thank you, Gus.
And it have the same name, and it have the same distribution, and you go to the same banks, and your bank account still has the same value in it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same value, does it? Because as I keep saying to people, your house has not gone up in value, your pound has gone down.
But and you need assets. It's all about assets.
Yeah, and it's the linkage between our economy and property and the development side of things, which is not necessarily the best thing because it's too in flux. We need to diversify our economy quite significantly so that when one goes down, it doesn't all go down with it.
Property does there's a lot of big deals there with big builders going to build like housing estates. They've mothballed them, and it's now some places up north. It's actually more expensive to build because of property costs and building costs. It's more expensive than the actual house will be worth.
Which is sadly what the Reform UK guy was actually talking about, and then he said something about Grenfell, and we all lost our minds. But the point he was actually making is very correct. That it is regulation, it is net zero, it is bureaucracy for the sake of it, and also it is a lot of activism within the housing kind of sector. The lobbyists and things are all involved in it. It is not a particularly clean sector. So we need to tidy that up. And I'm yet to meet a housing minister or a potential one that seems capable of doing it.
I've got to be honest with you. I think one of my problems, and forgive me if you are in this position and you're listening to or watching tonight, my big problem is I think people in the property sector are largely nasty arseholes, bluntly, and the reason they get to the top is because they're ruthless, not because they're good at business, not because they're capable. I mean, it was really interesting. My younger brother wants to buy a barn in Cheshire and convert it, and it needed a new superstructure. As in, it needed all of the roof trusses taken out and new steels put in. It was amazing. No property developer would touch it. No. Because they don't know how to develop property. All they know how to do is buy stuff at auction, tart it up and sell it for an inflated price.
Also, if you've got anything that's probably over a certain amount of years old, they won't touch it anyway because of all the kind of regulations you have to have.
It was amazing.
It stifled it.
It's actually really devastated a lot of kind of countryside development. So because the houses are so old, trying to change a window frame, absolutely impossible.
No. Oh, do you know what they do in Windsor? They just put plastic windows in on Sundays when the council inspectors aren't working.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you've got to refurbish the sash window, 10 grand a window.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, no, you're all right. Yeah. I'll just do it on the Sunday.
Yeah, and then what makes it worse is sometimes if your house is of a certain age, you have to do it. So, you have to upkeep the building, so you have to pay the money out.
And it has to be done with the official way, the old stock way, and you have to get the old
Trying to find people that do some of the old ways of doing things is also a bigger task as well. So
we haven't got many craftsmen left. Anyway, we've got a minute left, Pete. Anything you want to get off your chest?
I was about to tell you to say goodbye to the morning viewers. But of course, it's Friday night. So we don't have
what you got to say, man? You've got 30 seconds to spill the beans.
I would say keep your eye on Pakistan and this mediations, because Pakistan has a 3.5 billion loan due to the UAE, and they don't want to take Chinese money. So this is why they're now in league with America. There's a lot more going on than people have to admit. And if you don't know where the Strait of Hormuz is, don't lecture people
Also, can I tell you something about somebody very close to me who goes to the Louis Vuitton shop, who goes to all of the top leather shops in this country, takes photos of the items, and my driver is Pakistani, and they send us back. Oh my God. Oh my God, my best mate went into a Louis Vuitton shop with a jacket that cost 150 quid. They thought it was a 10 grand.
And on that bombshell, we'll be back after the news. It's Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So, this is a short segment that we call The Real X-Files. And we've got myself and Asher Gould, of course, and we've also got Joe Stock.
I thought we weren't playing that music.
And Matt Thornton. Do not play that music, because when we put the clips out, apparently everyone goes crazy and gets very angry about it and says it's condescending and insulting to what is an important issue. OK, Joe, what have we got this week?
Well, it's kind of a sad one, actually, this week, because this week we lost Nick Pope, who I think you know.
No, very well. I mean, he must have been on the show, you know, many, many times. Used to get him in. He was basically our Home Office. We had one man who dealt with UFOs in this country officially, and that was him. And he was the Mulder and Scully, and he knew all about the all the UFO activity. He would never say, because of course he was a signatory to the what's it called? The
Official Secrets Act.
Official Secrets Act. So he couldn't spill the beans. But you read a lot of his books. Apparently, Chapter 13 of Operation Thunderchild. And he used to come here and he'd drink beer, like unbelievably. We'd have bottles of beer, of course, because a lot of Talk Sport. It was on Talk Sport. Alan Brazil's always has a stash. So we'd be at the bottles, and literally within about 30 seconds, he'd go, "Can I have another one?" And he'd have about 6, and then he'd start getting his loose lips. And he moved to California and met another ufologist or whatever, and they got married, and he was having a great time. And then you told me today that I know he was ill, but you said that he died. It was really sad. He was a great guy.
He knew too much.
Yeah, but I mean, so
he was ill, but. He was, a titan of ufology, and you'd always any documentary that you'd see on any channel, he'd always pop up.
Tell me about his background. So he wasn't just a tinfoil-hatted loony.
That was the point.
He said he was a major. His actual equivalent title that he was in the ministry would be as a major.
Okay, interesting.
So a major civil servant.
He worked for the Ministry of Defence on their UFO desk, which was essentially
he was the only man that did it.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like, the broom cupboard.
I had a friend of mine who went to the MOD. This is a great story.
Yeah.
This might be an Official Secrets Act problem. And by the way, you don't have to be a signatory. It's like saying, sign the Murder Act. That will prohibit you from murder.
So you'll find out next week if he's here or not. Right. I'll tell you whether...
I had a friend of mine who was sat in the MOD, and his boss came in, and she was panting, right? Not rude. She's panting. She goes, "Oh my God, that lift never bloody works. I've just had to run up 7 flights of stairs." And he said, "We're sat on the ground floor." And she went, I had to go down 7 flights of stairs. And he goes, "The building's only 5 stories." And she went, "Can we just move on?" Actually, I'm sure that's not breaking the official secret that there's stuff under the building.
No,
there's always bound to be.
So tell us about Nick Pope.
What we wanted to use this as an example of one of his, talk about one of his most famous cases that he was related to, and that's the very elusive Calvine UFO.
I'd explain what that is. I don't know what that is.
So the story was, this is in an area of Scotland, sort of the Highlands, right?
Yeah, Perthshire.
Yeah, so it's quite a remote area.
There's a lot of bases around there in those.
Yes, that is true in that area.
Machrihanish.
What happened was, it was in 1990. There were 2 members of staff of a hotel went out on their lunch break, and they walked around the moors of that area. And on their trip, they began to hear this strange, low humming noise. It sounded quite unsettling. And after a little while of that, as they were getting closer to the source, they looked up and saw this diamond-shaped UFO, which they said was about 100 foot long, hanging in the sky, whilst a jet fighter was flying around it.
Yeah.
And they had a camera on them and took photographs.
Yeah.
We have one of the photographs here.
Can we put it on screen, or is it?
Well, we can lift it up. This is allegedly one of the photographs in question.
Can you zoom in?
This is the UFO, and this is the plane.
Now that does look like the ones described by Bob Lazar in Area 51.
Yeah, there is this, but the size of the thing is what's so shocking, is because obviously
that plane is massive. Those things, are huge.
What plane is it?
It's a Harrier.
Well, they're not that big, but they are.
Well, yeah, but next to that, it's like
There's 3 of those.
Anyway, basically they took the photographs, and their first thing was, well, we're going to go to the press, so they gave them to the Daily Record. But the Daily Record, for some reason, didn't think it was wise to publish the photos. Instead, they handed them on to the Ministry of Defence.
And what, Nick Pope, basically?
And Nick Pope came across
and what
these
happened
photos.
Then? What
well,
happened?
this is the thing.
Take a sip.
Yeah,
this is a big moment.
The intense moment. No, so the 2 people that took these photographs have never come forward. No one knows who they are.
Give us a ring, 03444991000. We won't say your name or anything, just come on.
But this is a long time ago.
Let the dogs see the rabbits.
But there's been... this photo was lost, so no one ever could find this
photo.
photo.
Where did you find it then?
Well, it wasn't me that found it, but someone that was investigating this, you know, went back through all of the people that were on the case, and someone had the copies left, and he had 1 copy left of 1 photograph, and it was this. So for years...
But this is the sort of thing that people could fake, isn't it?
No, this can't be fake. And also what we found out was, when going through all the old files, that the Ministry of Defence had looked into this and had said that's definitely a Harrier plane. It's definitely a physical object, and there's no hoax in the image.
But what's the finish of the story? They saw the plane going around. How did it finish then? What did?
Well,
you wouldn't leave, would you?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. So
but
that's a good
that
point.
plane is probably not tracking that UFO.
No, but it was
flying around.
And apparently, the other photographs they took proved that, like, the plane is moving while it's.
So how did this develop?
Yeah. So as it went on, they were watching. After about 10 minutes, this. Vehicle or whatever it was shot up into the air.
They do that, don't
disappeared. Gone. And then this other plane flew away.
It's a freaky image, though.
Did it? I mean, it's
let me have a look at it closely. It's now on screen now.
That's not. So that's a recreation. That one.
Right.
So that, because for years no one had this photo. And Nick Pope, who used to have the real image in his office,
well, there was only a dodgy photograph, a dodgy
mock-up.
So what we've done is, for resolution purposes, we've used the mock-up one. We'll put it back on. It's relatively sensible. It is identical.
Well, I think we put the real one on. Would they come for us?
They come for us. Yeah. But you can see that is essentially what it looks like.
Yeah, that is.
So we've put the fake one up, even though we've got the real one, just to confuse the matter.
But there's people who have different ideas of what it could be.
Yes, but
do they think it could be like a Chinese air balloon?
That could be filled with helium.
Yeah, it could, but the way it flew away is the issue. And
just let it go up.
It could be a military vehicle.
I need to say something, because what happened to the guys that took the photograph is what's so bizarre. It's a very lucrative industry, ufology. If you're the guy that took that photograph, you could be getting loads of money doing interviews. Well, they've never come forward. The only people they spoke to was the press. And then, supposedly, someone where they were working witnessed a couple of nights after this, a car pulled up, men in black, suits came out and began harassing the 2 people that saw them, dragged them away, had a stern conversation, and the 2 guys sort of fell apart over the days and weeks after that.
And have they been seen again?
But even Nick Pope did talk about the fact that someone has probably said something to them to shut them up. So there's a lot. This is very serious.
And this photo is marked with Sheffield Hallam University, Craig Lindsay. So there are serious universities
He was involved, and I believe he was the one that found the image eventually. Yes.
I mean, it's it's interesting.
But there's people who say that it's actually a picture of an island.
Well, this is it. Yeah. So if you look at it. There's a school of thought that a skeptic says
it's just a little desert
it's an island on the water.
And he's flying around.
But that's not the conclusion of the military defence.
Well, it wouldn't have shot up into space as well.
It
also does.
Islands don't do that.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
and
it could be an island.
The plane is a man in a boat.
The other photos allegedly exist, don't they?
Yes, they do. So that would disprove what that. Because this plane is.
If the MOD is sat on these pictures, it wouldn't make sense if it was just a picture of some.
And this looks like it's gravity propulsion, as those ones at Bobbles are.
So it could be an island and its perspective.
There was a slight humming noise, which is exactly what Bobbles are says. There is no jet propulsion or anything like that. It seems like a gravity.
And the size of the objects is what's so shocking, because he says 100 foot long. So that's
an area with military bases at a time when
in broad daylight.
At a time when there was a great deal of international upheaval.
Yes.
But Matt, right, once again, we return to this point. There is a suggestion that these UFOs are trying to stop a nuclear war and just intervene whenever there's trouble. But there's also suggestions that it's just experimental military kit.
And that very well may be the case in this, but what's interesting about that is that the MOD's findings on this, officially what the notes they found were essentially, yes, that is that is a Harrier plane. We've got no idea what that is. It's like a 100-foot aircraft. It's definitely real. The photograph's not fake. Case closed.
Yeah, but now you've said to me about perspective.
Yes.
I'm becoming confused because I originally thought the plane was behind the object.
It's going round and round.
You think it's in front of the object?
That's a good point. Yeah, it could well, yeah, but yeah.
See, I originally thought it was behind it, and it was miles.
But it's a picture of something in the sky.
I get the impression the way the plane's flying around, it's known about this sort of thing before, and it happens regularly.
Yes, it's probably not it's not a coincidence that they're both in that airspace. But again, the RAF base that was involved, they said that there was no planned flights, that nothing was supposed to be in that area.
Which RAF?
I'm not sure what the name of it was. It began with M.
It's in the middle of Perthshire.
Not Machrihanish. That's got the longest runway in the country, and there's a lot of alien activity there.
Machrihanish.
Now, yeah,
But
RAF Machrihanish. Do you know about the Rendlesham, of course, because Nick was very good friends with Georgina Bruno. I wrote the book You Can't Tell the People, talking about the Rendlesham Forest accident. Incident. And Georgina Bruno went up to Margaret Thatcher and said what she was talking about and writing a book, and Thatcher looked up at her from the distance and said, "You can't tell the people." And of course, Nick Pope was involved in that, and there's a famous book called You Can't Tell.
And Nick Pope he had a very deep connection to this image because he saw it and thought it was incredible, like, you know, defining evidence of UFOs, and he had that as a poster hung up on his wall in his office.
But did he come across anything when he was at the MOD that definitively proved anything one way?
Yes, he saw enough, I think, for him to be of the mind that there was definitely something going on that was beyond our realms of current technology. I don't think he ever really committed to a specific thing of like,
he wouldn't be allowed to.
It was never aliens or technology or anything.
But he was very much like, this is a much bigger issue than what we give it.
He used to, because we always used to, obviously he was drunk at the end of the interview, and we used to always pressure him and there would always be a glint in his eye, like, there is stuff out there. Don't worry about that, laddie.
But what's interesting about this is he had that on his wall until one day he came in and his boss made him take it down because his boss had information that he believes that might have been some kind of secret US plane that had been spotted accidentally. But it doesn't, that doesn't explain everything.
I mean, it could be, once again, let's put it up, it could be an early, what is it, stealth bomber?
Yeah, something like that, an Aurora plane which was rumoured to exist.
And the thing is, the stealth bomber was started in the 60s. So, you know what I mean?
But then a plane that's that big, surely we would have seen it now. Like, so, what are these things used for?
Why are they? Because we've seen stealth bombers. The stealth bombers were secret.
Yeah, but they say the stealth bomber is actually very old, the stuff they've got.
Well, exactly.
I'm sure the stuff
if you saw that in the 70s, that's something that's come from.
But I'm sure the stuff that we know about is the stuff that existed
50 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure. There's no way when they announce a new plane that it's the new.
No, of course.
Is there an equivalent sort of UFO board that's still existing today for the MOD? Do they still do this?
They said they got rid of it.
Yeah, they got rid of that. A whole department, as small as it was, but they did stop doing it. Yeah.
But how do you even get?
But see, before you go any further, Joe, I don't get that because So if I was leading Britain's air defence, I would say, well, it is vital that unexplained phenomenon form part of our defence strategy. Because the fact we can't explain something is in of itself a national security risk.
Yeah, but they probably just keep it secret.
I suspect there's probably a group that does do it, but it's just not advertised.
But if somebody phones up the police and says there's something in the sky near RAF Lossiemouth, and RAF Lossiemouth has not tracked it, then one would hope that an investigator is sent down to work out whether this person's a crank or whether they've just found a new Chinese drone system that's indetectable.
Well, you would hope that, but
but they might not make it public.
I suspect that there is some group that does do it, like that RAF base will now refer on to the people that they know will deal with it, and they will deal with it. We might not know who those people are. I mean, but that suggests that what has happened, I would suggest to you,
that Nick Pope, having come off the desk and used that as credibility, well, now they just don't admit the desk exists.
Yes.
So anybody who has that job will not have the credibility of Nick Pope.
Yeah, for sure. And also, you know, the way he described it, it seemed like a very sort of run-down operation. There wasn't much money.
It was just him.
I think what we're seeing in the United States now is they're taking these things much more seriously.
Yeah, but was Nick Pope a sort of a fudging thing, and it wasn't really that small? And he
well, you met him. What do you think?
Well, you still wouldn't know, would you? But I mean, it's odd that there was one man.
But it wouldn't surprise me if you deliberately picked someone who was a bit zany and weird and put them in charge of it.
Well, you can't imagine a Keir Starmer figure.
He was actually like, he wasn't zany and weird. He was like an accountant.
No, but what you could do is you could have a secret discredit desk. Right?
Well, they do that. The term conspiracy theory is a CIA invention.
Is that right?
Yeah. Used to discredit those sorts of ideas.
Because to me, look, I don't know, and I don't care particularly what it is they're finding in the sky. But what I would suggest we need to do is know what it is.
Yes.
Right. So that would be my attitude if I was the MOD, if I was the Prime Minister, if I was the Defence Secretary. I would say, well, we need a fulsome account of everything that's in the skies over Britain.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because look, they admit that that is a vessel in the sky. We don't know what it is. We don't even know what this other plane next to it's doing. And case closed. No, supposedly from the MOD's perspective, no further questions. That's it. So,
and there's pictures we won't show you.
Yeah. So how about this?
Why not?
Why not read this out? The Ministry of Defence stopped collecting UFO reports in 2009, advising that reports are no longer officially investigated. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah,
the primary US government office responsible for investigating unidentified anomalous phenomenon, commonly known as UFOs, is the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Service, and that was established in 2022.
Yes, so that is in the United States, and that is that was set up as part of the COVID legislation. There was a thing in there about setting this body up.
And was that really as a result of this aircraft carrier incident?
Oh well, yeah. Well, that became public, and there was a lot of pressure from. No, that was.
No, it's much more recent.
Yeah, that was with the Nimitz.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant President Roosevelt.
No, that was with the USS Nimitz, which was where the Tic Tac incident happened.
Yeah,
so those stories coming out, there was a lot of momentum.
We've seen film of that Tic Tac one.
Yeah, there's
it was
lots
the
of footage.
This thing comes in and out.
Yeah, and there was a big build-up. It's like, so the government was, people were putting pressure on the government to say, can we get something done? So they set up this new organisation. And interestingly enough, the head of that organisation, who comes under a lot of criticism because they don't think he really uses much of an open mind, has made a comment on that and believes that it is a lake. And that is
there is a lot
reflection.
of hatred.
But the MOD disagrees with him, so...
I remember Nick Pope, because in the UFO community there's a lot of, people don't like each other, don't they? If you don't agree with what they're saying.
The trouble with this stuff is...
you know what, now I look at it...
It's a shark swimming around a desert island.
I'll tell you what I can now see in this.
What?
I can see... small island in lake, man with boats.
You can see there's a couple of men with a little guy in a white suit going, de plane.
Give me the thing.
It's fantasy island.
Also, the lines you see on that image are from the printer. It's actually not on the photo. You can see more cloud shapes.
You can see the horizon at the bottom of the photo. Look, underneath.
Could that not be a man rowing near an island?
No, it's all like a perception thing, isn't it?
It is. It's really hard.
But if you had the other photographs, that would easily be disproved because you'd see the man.
We haven't got
but it could be his oar is facing.
Yeah, it could well be. It could well be.
You've annoyed me now.
You can see the horizon down there. That's the horizon at the bottom.
No, that's not the horizon.
That is. Look, it's pointing upwards. You can see a little bit of because this is a mountainous area. Remember, you can see there's some mountains going along.
And the fact is
that's
Blackpool Beach. As far as they're aware, and the sceptics are looking into this, still haven't really been able to find a lake like that in that location.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. It doesn't bother me whether this photo is real or fake.
Yeah.
It's just, as I say, it's about the investigation of it. But look, I looked at it originally and thought that is a picture of a Harrier flying round something.
Yes.
Now I can see small island reflection and bloke rowing past.
That's what they want you to see.
Yeah, you're falling into the trap there. Anyway, anything else you got to say?
Well, not really, but next week we've got a really, really
special.
bizarre
Well,
interview.
give us a little hint then.
I don't even think we could put it into the category of
blast from the past.
Ghosts or UFOs, or it's just so weird.
Well, make sure you tune in next week. That was brilliant. A nice tribute to a great friend of the station, Nick Pope, and the hero in the UFO community.
By the way, Asher, Casino under the Midland Hotel, the Stanley.
Was it Stanley?
The Stanley Casino.
Disco, yeah. He owned a few, didn't he? 03444991000. Thanks, guys.
Oh, it's the circus across the road. The circus.
The circus. 03444991000. Cindy, Mandy, Mark, Graham, Yasmin, Shannon, Erin in Potholes, and Heather will be with us. And you too, 03444991000 if you give us a bell.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and let's go for Shannon in North London. Shannon, you're on Talk.
Hi, y'all. You're right.
All right, Shannon.
Hi, y'all. I've actually got a lot to say, really.
Go for it.
I heard your conversation earlier with Robert before it went to the press preview.
Yeah, Robert. Yeah.
So basically, I just want to ask you guys, as British people, I'm a British person. I'm only 30. Lived in Britain all my life. Whatever.
So you're 13.
I'm 30. 30.
Oh, 30, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a British person. I don't really, agree with what Britain's been doing with the immigrants and all that. But one thing I will say, we can't keep blaming people like Tony Blair.
Don't worry. Oh, okay. Try not to swear again. Okay, but we can't blame people for our muck-ups. Yes.
Yeah, we can't. And at the same time, you guys were talking about Israel having their army like bigger than the UK's. How embarrassing is it for a UK person to be borrowing a German ship?
Yeah,
you're very highly.
I mean, I don't know how much bigger or what the comparison is between the UK and Israeli army, but what the point I made about Israel, is it's very clear that they've put a great deal of thought and planning into what they need. Now, Asher makes the point that's partly because they're under constant threat, and I do accept that. But I also think that it shouldn't require a war for us to get our military defence right.
No, 100%, 100%. And at the same time, if British people wasn't on benefits and letting all the immigrants come into our country and we moan about them taking our jobs, then we would have a...
But don't you think it's the government's and the Uni Party that has been the enemy since, well, Tony Blair?
Well, listen, you guys say Tony Blair, yeah? Listen, there was a lot of prime ministers from after Winston Churchill, yeah? So we can't keep blaming. Listen, Tony Blair...
Yeah, but we had a strong military, you know, look at the Falklands. It wasn't brilliant, but it was a lot better than now.
Remember, 6.5 million people would be better off giving up their job and going on to benefits. 6.5 million people go to work every day and are poorer.
Exactly, but we're all British. Most of the British people are on benefits. We moan about the immigrants coming into our country and taking our jobs. Why? Because British people do not want to do their jobs.
Well, no,
British... Yeah, but a lot of people who've immigrated here aren't coming here to work.
I mean,
they're coming at suckle from the nation's teeth.
I have to be honest with you. British...
But why is that? Because
because we're stupid enough. You'd be mad not to come from, you know, developing country and have a house paid for you and all your kids paid for.
Remember, the definition of British person is person with a British passport, not necessarily somebody who was born in Britain.
Yeah, but at the same time, most of our British army are British Muslims. So what?
No, they're not.
They are.
No, there's more actually joined jihad than joined the British Army.
Unfortunately, it is true that more British Muslims served for the Islamic State than they did in the British military. It's just a fact.
Yeah, but at the same time, you guys saying that the Islamic States and everything, when 7/7, listen, 2003, we went into Afghanistan under Tony Blair's rule, yeah? When he sent all our troops over there. That was 2003. Now, then explain to me how the 7/7 bombings happened.
Because of terrorists living.
Well, I've heard this sort of implication before, but I think it's important to understand that Afghanistan was attacked by the United States of America after people living in Afghanistan planned a major attack on the United States of America, in which the world... Hang on a second. The World Trade Center, both towers were destroyed. One segment of the Pentagon was destroyed, and a plane believed to be flying to destroy the White House was taken down by its own passengers mid-air. It has to be said, if you were to, as an example, I don't know, blow up Canary Wharf and the Ministry of Defence and attempt to fly a plane at Buckingham Palace, you would be at war with the United Kingdom. There is this great... The reason I make this point, there is this great sense that Muslims are responding to a disgraceful piece of behaviour by the West. What's happened, actually, is jihadis living in Afghanistan attacked the United States of America, and the United States of America responded. Most people believe that Afghanistan responded by attacking the World Trade Center. It is not true.
But also the interesting point is a lot of the hijackers, in fact most of them were from Saudi Arabia, but they sort of skated away clean, didn't they?
By the way, 23...
And now Saudi Arabia is part of Gulf.
Yeah. And making peace.
All under the US rules. The US have got fucking bases...
Don't do it. Don't dump it again. There's no point.
The US have got bases in Turkey, Saudi Arabia,
everywhere,
Yemen, but they're still using the British bases to throw missiles. So we get involved yet again.
Well, why shouldn't they use their bases that they pay for? And they're an ally. They're our biggest ally.
No.
I mean, they rent us our nuclear weapons. We don't even own them.
Who would protect us in a war? We haven't got our own military. Do you think Russia would protect us? Do you think France would protect us? No, it's the States that would.
Germany's protecting us.
They're useless. They've not had a proper army or military
Germany's not protecting us.
They're bigger than us right now.
They lent us a ship for the manoeuvres.
Oh, I see that point.
Every military is bigger than our military. We've got one ship that doesn't work properly.
We've got to go to the break, so thank you so much.
Yeah, let's do that. Take a break. 0344449. First time caller, and you could be
before we go any further, I should just say she was a first-time caller. She swore twice. First time we dumped it. Second time we didn't. Apologies for the language. Just to be clear, this is a late-night show. People come in.
Potty mouth.
Yeah.
Potty mouth. And don't forget, by the way, Marty Kellner's on tonight. One night only with Marky, because Benedict Fletcher, I don't know where he is, gallivanting around the world. Anyway, 0344.
Aintree.
Yeah, he'll be down there when he's...
Do you reckon? He's
serious gambler. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Oh.
Okay, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. We're going to Mark first, and Mark is in London. Mark, you're on Talk.
Yes, hello, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Is that Ken Livingstone?
No, I only wished it was. But I would like to talk about one of the most wonderful gentlemen we have in this country, who happens to be English, but people seem to slate him something rotten, and I think it's preposterous. And that gentleman is Mr. Keir Starmer.
This is you, isn't it, Keir? Keir, we know this is you, Starmer.
Who is this?
This is Starmer. Look, don't try and call us and just do an official interview with Julia instead of trying to sneak in here with your weasel ways.
No. When you think about it, he didn't want to take us into this war because we have no army.
He's talking about himself in the third person now.
Well, no. And the other thing is, he does wonderful
Mark, just to be clear, Mark, just to be clear,
call you Mark.
Are you disguising your actual accent?
Yeah, I suppose I could be, but then again, I've got mental health problems, so I don't know.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's just, So do you actually like Keir Starmer, or were you winding us up?
I can't stand the bloke.
Oh, here we go. Yay.
I can't stand him. What
is it you don't like about him? We've only got half an hour. So.
He's still breathing, basically.
He's still what?
I mean, I think that's right. The whole, when you say he's still breathing, what you mean is the fact he's actually there and present. I'll tell you what I don't understand about him. I don't understand why he wanted to be Prime Minister. What part of the job appealed to him?
I think it was for the CV, was it? Or was he? Is he just a tool of someone else?
His
dad was a tool maker.
He is he is 100% tool himself, isn't he?
He's the biggest tool his dad ever made.
I personally think he's trying to be like Corbyn.
Do you think?
But he said he was his mate, and then he threw him under the bus.
I mean, that's the big question, Asher, isn't it? Is he somebody who is like Corbyn but an incrementalist, i.e. he feels that the problem with Corbyn was honest about his views?
I think you might be right there. What do you think, Mark? Do you think... Because you don't know what Starmer's views is. You don't really believe he has views.
Well, the thing is, guys, I mean, if you have a good thing and a bad thing... With Starmer, you can almost guarantee 100% he's going to choose the bad thing.
Yeah.
If it's to slag England off or anything bad against England or to do anything against anything...
Yes. It does seem like he's poking the bear all the time, isn't it? It's like he's trying to get a reaction.
Yeah, but if he keeps poking the bear, he's going to get bitten.
Well, isn't that what he wants? It's like he's as if he wants to cause all this... mayhem.
Well, he doesn't want Britain to succeed in the way that we want Britain to succeed. Let's be polite.
Look, let's put it at the end of the day. Soon as he loses his job, he's got security 24 hours a day for the rest of his life, and his family has. So I mean, it isn't gonna matter to him.
Well, plus he'll probably be a multi-millionaire. I mean, look at Tony Blair. Look at most of the prime ministers in the last few years. You know.
I think he'll go back to law. I think he'll try and become a law lord. Supreme Court Justice.
Well, the EU, he'll try and get in the EU somewhere.
Yeah, international court.
I think he's trying to be the head of the European Court. That's what I think he's aiming for. If he gets that job, it's like, oh, I've done it.
Now, of course, just to remind everyone, European Court of Justice is the Supreme Court of the EU. Whereas the European Court of Human Rights is entirely separate. We're still a member, and that's in Strasbourg.
Well, I personally think he'll go for both of them.
Well, he can't go for the European Court of Justice because he's not an EU national.
He'll just want to be head of the EU, which is what Tony Blair wanted. It's Tristan in Southend. Morning.
Hi guys, good evening. Morning.
Thanks, Mark, for that.
You all right?
Yeah, man.
I knew Mark was taking. You knew Mark was taking.
I thought it was Starmer. Anyway.
Oh, he was having a laugh, wasn't he? Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to say your caller who rung up about the welfare state. Effectively, of the 6th of April, if you claim sickness or disability benefits, they only pay you the same rate as job seekers allowance.
Wow.
So effectively, they've cut benefits for disabled people in half.
Wow.
That's
apart
terrible.
from PIP. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so many people blagging it with things like anxiety and ADHD.
So just to explain to everyone about Tristan, Tristan has epilepsy and a particularly violent epileptic fit robbed him of most of his sight. So I think we always have a problem, Tristan, as you well know. When we start complaining about people taking the mick on benefits, people phone up going, yeah, but I lost a leg due to cancer or whatever. We are perfectly happy. No, we actively want people who deserve benefits to be on benefits.
And can I just say, to everyone who pays taxes and keeps people like me, I like to think I'm very genuine with my claim because obviously I've got a lot going on. I just want to say thank you to them. I know because nobody ever says thank you, do they? It's like, give me more, give me more, give me more. Like
it's what I'm entitled to.
Yeah, well, that's
exactly.
the problem, isn't it?
Just be grateful for what you get because as your caller rightly pointed out, there's people on less money than me, and they're having to pay tax on it on top, and it's so unfair.
Yeah. But you've attempted to get jobs. I mean, I will say one thing, Tristan. On reflection, asking a blind there are certain jobs which are just completely out, and obviously your blindness then adds more to it, and so there's just there are just
got a cancer battle coming up, so it's like, oh god.
So you've just got hundreds. If you were to go through the job section, there's just hundreds of jobs you can't do at all.
Do you know what they said to me? They said, don't bother working, you'll be worse off. That was their exact words. Yeah. But I still keep looking because I want to work.
Well, I will say one thing where I think that is wrong. And it's not just morally wrong. I always give the example of my uncle but he started as a builder's labourer, and he worked his way up to being a bricklayer. And now, he is not a rich man, but what he does have, he loves the Highlands of Scotland. He lives in Aviemore type area, and he's got his own house bought and paid for. It's not Buckingham Palace.
Well, it's 200 quid up there.
But he's built his own house. He loves his falconry, and he's got a couple of birds. If you see what I mean. And he's married, and he's got kids and all that. And I think
what he does have, Andre. Sorry to interrupt you. He has dignity.
I think that's right. And I think that
you've not met him, have you?
I think that going out to work every day. I was telling people the other day actually about the McDonald's University.
They work so hard at McDonald's. I feel so sorry for them. And people talk to them. It's awful. They have one of the hardest jobs going because they never sit down and they never.
Do you know McDonald's launched its own university? They called it a university. It's not really a university, but what they said was 80% of people at McDonald's, it's their first ever job. And the average amount of time that somebody works at McDonald's is 2 years. So he said what happens is we, more than any other company, bring people into the jobs market. I was like, wow, that's really good. So what they do is McDonald's University does things like teaching you how to do a CV, helping you out with sometimes English language skills because they're the new migrants to the UK. But they said whatever it takes, McDonald's accepts that this is your first job, largely, and you're going to leave us when you find something better. But we're going to help you find something better. And I think that's a really publicly spirited thing.
Yeah, good for them. It builds people's futures and they realise people aren't going to be
So, of course, the key point on that, Tristan, is if you can't get a job at McDonald's. You might think it's a crap job, but it'll lead to something better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish anyone who works in those places, any fast food, the very best of luck. As I say, they do not stand still for 1 second. It is a damn hard slog. And just talk to people with respect. And for God's sake, say please and thank you when they serve you. They have a hard job. Lay off them. And don't look down your nose at people working at McDonald's. They have a job at least.
Oh, I completely agree. I went on the TV show, years ago when we were talking about... going for jobs, and there was these people, all of my mates who all had really good jobs, all of them were
burger flippers,
had done these menial jobs at university, and it was the people who were unemployed who'd never done them before who said, I've never worked at McDonald's. Do you know, I've got a friend who works for the law firm that's clients include the King, and he used to work at Burger King.
Well, Prince Andrew went to Pizza Express in Woking.
Yeah, indeed. I'll tell you what made me laugh about that. What made me laugh, I couldn't have been at Tramp's nightclub. I was at Pizza Express in Woking. Right. Dinner and nightclub not open at the same time. Right. No. Most people are able to go for a pizza and a nightclub.
Especially when you've got a helicopter waiting outside.
Can you imagine? I wasn't able to go to a nightclub tonight because I had dinner. What? Different times.
Don't sweat it.
One of them's at midnight, the other's at 7 p.m. Right, let's just be clear.
Anyway, Tristan, anything more to say before we go to the break? Anything you'd like
Anything before you go to the break? I just want to say thank you for a lovely show. You guys are keeping me going at a tough time, and you always do. So
that's why we're here. Well, it's not just why we're here, but it's great that you're here.
We're here for the money, principle.
Yeah, we're here for the money. But as long as you think that...
I'll call in more often now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you take care.
Cheers, goodbye. All right.
Back after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Let's go to Heather in Gavan. Heather, you're on Talk.
Hello, Andre. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Is that it?
Thank you for your call.
No. Well, I want to talk about the peace, the meeting next week in Islamabad.
What about?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I doubt it that Keir Starmer is going to get what he wants, a permanent peace, ceasefire. And as regarding to Iran, is be careful what you wish for with them.
Well, I mean, look, even with Hamas, he goes, we've got to have a ceasefire. You know, sometimes you have to have a war. It's just, it's not all,
Yeah, but he believes if you build sufficient international structures, evil will cease. That's what he believes.
Buffoon.
Plus, when you talk about these kind of things, is like with the fog of war and everything.
The fog of war?
Like, with the conflicts between Iran and America and Israel, I mean, why is Israel not being part of the meeting?
I think it's because Israel don't believe there's any point in the meeting. I don't know.
Israel has its own war that it's dealing with. I mean, I'm sure there will be people involved in it.
Part of the problem is the whole. I think Israel said that it would only sign a peace deal where Iran accepted that Hezbollah and Hamas are Iranian soldiers. And Iran has said we won't negotiate to surrender by Hezbollah.
UN have already said Hezbollah have got to be, disbanded. That hasn't happened, and Israel is doing the UN's job for them, basically, in Lebanon.
And Donald Trump, he wants a regime change in Iran.
Oh no, he says he's done that now.
Well, the regime is still there.
Yeah, it's worse now, apparently.
It's not being eradicated.
Yeah, well, it's going to have to be, isn't it? Because, you can't have them...
I have to say to you, I'll tell you where I agree with Israel's position. I see no division between Hamas, Hezbollah and Iran. It seems to me they're all funded by the same thing. They're all the same group of people.
They're working together, yeah.
They're working together. I mean, it's like saying... Okay, I'll tell you what. Britain is going to have a peace treaty with Nazi Germany, but Vichy France is allowed to fight on. Oh, come on. I mean, that was just... Vichy France is a German proxy.
It's like trying to have a peace treaty with the jihads, and you cannot get a peace treaty with the jihads.
No, exactly.
So they are just as bad as... They've been funded by Iran.
Yeah.
And everything has got to.
Well, I've said Heather on multiple. I've said on multiple occasions.
Just keep going. Fade her out.
I've said on multiple occasions that from what I can see, and I'm not an expert, but I did go to Israel. From what I could see, the Hamas attack on October the 7th was ordered by Tehran. Now, ultimately, for Israel to say we're going to have a peace deal, that has to include the proxies, because there's no point in Israel having a... I mean, fundamentally, Israel is not fighting straight-up Iranian soldiers in Gaza. They're fighting Iranian-funded Hamas soldiers.
And also, if they even have a ceasefire and say, all right, it's all over, do you think Hezbollah are going to stop firing missiles into the north of Israel? Of course not. And then it's just going to all start off again, and same with Hamas.
Heather, thank you so much. Let's go to Yasmin, the teenage witch. We've not given you enough time previously, Yasmin, but now you've got a few minutes.
OK, darling, just a quick thing about tonight. I've loved the show.
Thank you.
I wish Scott and Matt could have an hour show, because...
Joe.
And a call-in for people to call in about UFOs and things like that.
Well, have you got comments on UFOs? Because we could...
Yeah, I have. There's quite a few things. First of all...
We'll get Joe back.
I believe that the US government is has aliens that are living on Earth.
Right.
And that they are literally behind the US government. That's the first thing.
So
I
you
believe.
think the US government has been taken over by aliens?
The Anunnaki.
No, not taken over. But there's a UFO, an alien called OTAN, which is NATO backwards, and is an EBT.
OTAN.
Isn't OTAN the name of NATO?
Yeah, they have NATO and they have OTAN on the other side.
Yeah,
like it's a mirror.
Literally, that has been documented for many years. Eisenhower said about the aliens. Everybody's talked about it since. Let's just say this. In the Second World War, men on the battlefront saw alien craft. In Lebanon, yesterday, there was an alien craft that was pictured, and literally...
You can't trust pictures with AI these days, can you? Oh.
People are denying that aliens exist.
Hang on, I just want to stop you. Heather. Sorry, Yasmin. Let's just be clear. OTAN stands for Organisation de Traité de Atlantique Nord. It's the French version.
No, it's not. It's the alien's name, and if you read...
You shouldn't call the French that, that's right.
Bill Cooper and read Pale Horse...
Joe's here, what do you think about what
I'm
Yasmin
familiar
said?
with what you're referring to with Bill Cooper, Behold a Pale Horse.
Yeah.
Bill Cooper was actually shot by police, I believe.
Where was that?
He went a bit...
Fascinated.
Yeah.
And you know the other thing I'm going to tell you as well?
What's that?
I feel that you should, talkTV should definitely give these young men a chance at an hour show where people...
Really? I mean, do you think they could do an hour? I mean...
people can ring up without...
I mean, Matt doesn't say anything. He just sits there giggling, doesn't he, with his glazed eyes?
Yeah. He's not allowed to...
He's telekinesised.
Do you want to know something quite interesting? Yeah.
Scott reminds me of Mike Yarwood.
Scott, we ain't got anyone.
His name is Joe.
You're imagining people.
Right, stop, everyone. Scott's name is Joe.
Can you see a Scott in the room with us?
In this dimension, I'm afraid it's Joe.
Scott. But anyway, what I'm going to say also is this. I can prove to you that we live in different virtual realities.
I bet you can't.
Prove it, I can.
Okay, you've got a couple of minutes to prove it. Away you go.
Right. Have you ever gone for a light switch and it's not in the same place?
No, it's always in the same place, my light switches.
And you open a door and it's the wrong side of the door.
No, it's never happened either, no.
Literally, that shows you that you're living in a different...
None of those things... I said no, it's never happened.
And let me just say...
My light switches are always in the same places. When I open the door, it's always what I expect on the other... Normally, anyway.
Ask people...
There was one time when the Anunnaki were on the other side.
Say, look at Philip K. Dick realities.
Philip K. Dick?
He's the writer. He did Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? You know,
he's all the research
was made from that.
Brilliant.
Do what? Play in the playground?
The film Blade Runner was based on his book,
right.
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Rutger Hauer, that was
I mean, these lads have got so much information and knowledge that needs to get out.
Well, one of them has. The other one just sits there.
The thing about Bill Cooper that you mentioned that's really interesting is that he worked in the naval intelligence, I believe, and he kept seeing all these documents detailing aliens and stuff like that and UFOs, and that some UFOs had been recovered and inside there were like mutilated human remains and things like that.
Really?
So really
Don't have nightmares.
But he, towards the end of if I just say, towards the end of his life, he thought that actually he was being intentionally showed this stuff so that he would act as like a kind of sleeper agent, putting out UFO stories because he sincerely believed them when actually they weren't true. But the idea of having UFOs out there as a concept served a greater purpose.
Sorry, Yasmin, we'll come to you. So you're saying, bloke, the conspiracy theories sometimes are made up deliberately by the government in order to discredit alien investigators.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Or to use alien investigators.
Sorry, Yasmin, go on.
conspiracy theorists aren't called that anymore, Andre. They're called fact finders, and because everything they're saying is actually happening in real time.
No, but if you think about conspiracy theory, and I've been a victim of a conspiracy theory once. These are people who, by definition, are not insiders. They're outsiders. Therefore, they can't possibly get everything right.
Well, I feel, Andre, when I look at you, you're part of the Illuminati because you're in the Masons.
Would make sense,
and the
wouldn't it?
Masons ruled the world, but the Fabian Society ruled the law because anything the papers are written on the Fabian Society become British law, and you can look that up.
Do you think I'm in the Illuminati, Dib?
I definitely think you're in the Illuminati. 100,000,000%. Because you, the Masons, are at the heart of
the Illuminati.
Do you not accept the Illuminati was abolished about 200 years ago?
Did you? That's what you would say. Did you see down the local last week? We were actually in the Illuminati headquarters in London. Have a watch, Phil, Dave, me and Andre, and Curtis Hinton.
But at the end of the day, I feel, when I look at Andre, that he's so intelligent that they use things on this programme to change government situations.
So they use Andre as a portal.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, OK. Well, on that bombshell. So, Joe, do you think I'm in the Illuminati?
Scott?
No, I don't think you're in the Illuminati. Yeah, maybe that's what you've told me to say.
Maybe Joe is part of it, because he really knows a lot more than you think.
I think
when he's not with Matt.
I think it's fascinating that that there is clearly some sense of manipulation of public opinion on UFOs.
Yes. No,